Jason Momoa was a member of this club. You can't wear support gear of another club. You have to show them that you're built like that. If you're not of the caliber, you're gonna get ran. I go to open the door, I see all my enemies, and I see my daughter crawling towards me. And I'm like, man, is this how I'm gonna go out in front of my daughter like this? Like, I was born in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. My mother ran away with my father to have me because my grandfather was a beast. Like he beat up my grandmother for years and stuff. So he was like, back in those days, they were a lot more aggressive. So I was born out in Puerto Rico. We only lived there for a year. And then I moved to the Bronx when I was 1 year old. And I lived in the Bronx my whole life. And, my childhood was rough. My father got caught up in crack. He was laying carpets for this place called ABC Carpet. And he had a friend that he worked with that put him on to crack, and he was just addicted. So he was gone by the time I was 4, but I have very limited memories of him because the only thing I really remember is him throwing my turtle out the window one day when he was mad at my mother. We had a turtle cubby and they had like an argument. That's the only aggressive act I ever seen him do, though. He was like a really nice guy, but he took our turtle. We lived on the 5th floor in the Bronx at this time, and he threw the turtle out the window. And I'm like, oh my God, Cubby. I'm looking down, and he actually survived it. Turtles are like that, So
wait, you never saw him again? Your dad?
After 4, I didn't see him again until I was 28.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He just recently died a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It was weird though. When he died, I wasn't like really messed up because I didn't have that relationship with him, but I'm not a grudge holder. So I didn't I don't know. It was weird. Like I felt a little funny. Like I'm supposed to feel bad, but I don't feel that bad. Not in an evil way, but just I was a little disconnected. So it was like a weird thing, but I got through it. But him not being around in my childhood when I was younger, my mother started to date someone else and she wound up marrying. And this dude, my stepfather, he worked for the state facility. It's like he wasn't like a correction officer, but he worked for like the mental institution. It was called Bronx State at the time. I don't know. It probably still exists, but I don't know. But he was a really wicked dude. Like I used to hear him talk about, having fun, mistreating people with mental health issues, like in Bronx State, it's like an asylum. So you got some crazy people in there. So he'd be like, yeah, we held him down. We were bending his arms. So I grew up hearing stuff like this. And he never really gave me love. He gave my sisters love, but he was very hard on me. And like, I tell people this a lot. Like when I first met him, he reprimanded me the first day I met him. I think I was like 5 years old. My mother was having a party and she was like, it's time to go to bed now. That's when they had house parties in the Bronx in the 80s. It was a crazy time. Yeah. She would have a DJ come to the house on the weekend, move all the furniture. And we're in an apartment on the 5th floor. Move all the furniture, have all these people here. They'll have a DJ playing. This is like when house and all that stuff was going on. So the first day I met him, I told my mom, oh, Mom, I want to stay up a little bit later. And the first day he says, that's your mother. You don't answer her back. And I looked at him like, I never met this dude in my life. And that's who she chose to be with. So he was very abusive physically. Like I got my ass whooped all throughout like my childhood, even to the point where my aunt, rest in peace, that died, my godmother, took me out the house and I was living with her and my grandmother for a minute. And over those years, I wound up starting to live with my grandmother because it was just so abusive. But as a kid, I got in a lot of trouble because I was in little street gangs and stuff like that, little neighborhood stuff, not anything organized like when I got older.
So you're staying with your grandparents and you're in kind of like a little gang, but they're not really, it's not like they're pulling off massive burglaries or something. When did you start getting in trouble or anything? Were you doing in school? I mean,
so around the age of like 12, 13, I started being in little gangs and stuff. And we called it shopping. Every Friday, we would go to a school and like rob people for stuff because we was poor. So we didn't have like the new North Face comes out. You can't get that. You can't be like, Ma, I need a North Face. We're broke. We're in the Bronx. Like the answer is always no.
Right.
So we would go out and rob people. And it was crazy the stuff that we did because we even did it like in the snow. We're like going up to people, yoking them up, pulling their stuff off. Like it's crazy how we grew up. Crazy the stuff that we did. Yeah.
How old were you?
13, 14. I'm gonna tell you a funny story too. I don't know how they allow this. Adults allow this. 13, 14, me and my cousin, we used to call the Chinese man. I don't know if they do that in Florida, but in New York, it was common to rob the Chinese man. So what we would do is order a whole bunch of food because we were hungry. And like I said, we were poor. Our parents are not paying for Chinese food. That's too much, $5 or whatever it was then. But we would order all this food. And then we had these two buildings that connected because they're apartment buildings. You know how the Bronx is?
Yeah.
So on the roof, you can go to the other roof. So what we would do is we would order to the 5th floor of the next building over, and we would rob them and then go up the stairs, up the roof, and then cross over the other roof and then go down to my friend's apartment. And then we just there eating, took a little bit of money, $50, $20, the most they had. But one day we did it, and when the guy came up, I had my cousin had a bat in his hand and a mask on, and he started to run down because he saw us at the top of the steps. My cousin runs way faster than me, so he runs after the guy. I come down the stairs. This guy's a grown man. We're like 13, 14. I come down the stairs, and my cousin has him by the neck. He's choking him. But the guy is older and bigger, so his throat, it looked like his hands was like this. It was like the funniest thing I ever seen. But yeah, we robbed him, and then it was just like we were doing stuff like that all the time. We were just so wild. And it was like we were always trying to one-up each other, who was tougher or whatever. We would do stupid things like, we'll be walking and like the next person, somebody will be coming, right? And one of your boys will be like, yo, I don't want to curse. I'll say another word because I know it's YouTube. I don't want to get it demonetized. But they would be like, yo, you soft. And then you'd be like, nah, I'm not soft. I'm real or whatever. And then they'd be like, oh, yeah, you are? The next person that walks up, punch them in the face. So we would do stuff like that, run up to somebody, punch them. Sometimes you get beat up. They're laughing at you because, you set it off and you lost or whatever. But we just did a lot of wild stuff when we were younger. New York was just a crazy place at that time. It always was like that. I don't remember a time. I always felt like it was moving too fast for me. Like everything is moving so fast and I'm naturally more laid back, but I had to like readjust to it. But I never felt like truly comfortable in that New York speed,
Right.
Yeah.
That story reminded me of, I had a girlfriend one time. She was a stripper, and she had come out. They used to have record, like CD stores.
Yeah, I remember that.
And she was walking out, going to her car, and there was a group of little kids. They were like, she's like, they're 13, 14 years old, but they were on bicycles. And this is in Carrollwood, Florida. Listen, it's middle class.
Yeah.
Like, you're not tough kids. You know what I'm saying? But they start circling her in their little bicycles, saying stuff to her. Hey, baby. Hey, thinking they're cool. But there's like 5 of them. And she's like $1.15.
Yeah.
She put her hand in her purse, grabbed her mace, and she said, I got scared. And she pulled it out and sprayed one of them. But they were going around in circles. She goes, literally, every one of them drove through it. So as she's doing this, keep in mind, they're looping quick. So boom, she hit all 5 of them. And she said, every one of them, as soon as it hit, they, bam, fell on the ground, started screaming, rolling around. She said the mist hit her. And her eyes immediately burned and got to her car, backed up. But she's like, I remember she had it on her hand, was like, she had like, you could see like the red just from that. But you're 13, 14. To me, a 13, 14-year-old kid is harmless. But in a group of 5 or 6, that they're practically grown men. That's 5 grown men.
Yeah.
So I can see.
I couldn't imagine 13, 14-year-olds coming up to me and saying, give me what you have on or give me what's in your pocket, because I would take my belt off and it would be a ass whooping fest,
Right.
But that's what we were doing as kids. Believe it or not, it was crazy. Like, and people were terrified, but they don't know. I'm coming out here, my cousin's coming out here. They don't know how many other people are around, if there's older people, But I kept doing that, and around the age of 14, we robbed somebody. We did our shopping thing, and me and a friend, he beat the kid up. I kind of like went for the pockets because I wasn't like one of those nasty people that wanted to hurt people. I was more like, let me get the money,
Right.
So we took like a bus pass and a couple of dollars. We wound up getting caught by the police, and it was a whole thing because when he came in, when we both got locked up, his mother didn't care about him, so his mother didn't come get him. My mother did. So we had a whole thing where they told my mother, if he like does what he's supposed to do, we'll let him go home with you. And that's something that they really don't do. But he was like cursing at the cops, fuck, F you and all that. So my mother was like, yo, he could stay if he wants to act like that. I'm like, no. But it was a big problem on the street because they're like, why did you let him? So I went through a lot of problems on the street because she did that. Because it was almost like, it's not snitching, but it's almost like letting him stay locked up. And it's like, I wore the brunt of it. For some reason, I didn't understand why it was my fault. But I was telling her, I'm like, Ma, you can't leave him here. You know what I mean? Like, just take him. She's like, no, the way he's talking to them, you know, he was like really getting at the cops. But, you know, but because of all of that, I wound up getting locked up. First I got probation, but at that age, I'm not going to school. I'm messing up. So my mother called up and got me violated with my probation officer. So I wind up going, when I get locked up, I wind up going to Spofford because this is a robbery charge that, you know, I got hit with. So, you know, you cop down, so it's a lighter robbery, but I still had 18 months of probation. So that transferred over to I had to do 18 months of time. So at 14 years old, I went in. It happened at 14. I went in at 15 and came out 17. But what happened was when I first got locked up.
Spofford's a juvenile, like a juvenile facility, right?
Spofford is where they used to send you before Rikers Island made the kiddie unit. So it was Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten. This was the baddest of the baddest, all in the Bronx. And the place is shut down now because it was so corrupt. But Spofford was a dangerous place. The crazy thing about Spofford, though, it was so bad, but it was like my school. Because my school was that bad. People were getting beat up every day. People were getting robbed every day. If you had a nice hat on, like a new Mets hat or a nice Yankee hat, and you weren't like part of the group, they're taking it right off your head. Because they had these like stairs that go up in the school, and they were like you know those weird ones, the school ones that go like that? They're weird the way they go up, and it's all gated. You start walking, one person will grab the hat, they'll start passing it down to other people, and then I would see it happen every day. It was so crazy, but going to Spofford, it was hardcore. Like that was my first little kiddie, you know, learning what the prison system is like. So then from there, they sent me to, my mom said, listen, I wanted him. I thought he was going to go to wherever he was going to go, not have to go to Spofford first. She didn't understand the system. So they put me in a group home called Boys Town. And it's actually famous for, you heard of Boys Town before? Yeah.
I've heard of Spofford before.
You heard of Spofford before too? Oh, okay, yeah. Boys Town was actually fun. Like anytime I was in a group home, I actually had fun. I went to Boys Town.
There was one here in Florida where hundreds of kids were murdered. You know, those places before they had real kind of, even now, of course, just like prison, like they say they're kind of, you know, monitored, but they're not really that mild. You can get away with anything as a guard, but you know, back then they're pedophiles are specifically trying to be prison guards so they can rape the kids. Kid says anything, we'll just choke you out and say you escaped, you ran off, or. They dug up hundreds of bodies. Is
that what the Sleepers movie is about?
I think the Sleepers movie is about, it's in New York. Like it's one of the ones in New York. It's one of those facilities. I don't know if it's Spofford, but it's based on, it's horrific.
Yeah. So I went to the group home for a little bit, and then I got sent up 18 months. I went to Lincoln Hall, and it was rough too, but it was more, they call it lockup, but it's cottages. And you're in different cottages. I was in the hillside. And, you know, it's kind of, to me, it's like more like boarding school. It's not a boarding school. You're locked up for a charge. But the setup is like a boarding school almost. So I did that for 18 months. And I had fun and hard times there because it was like, since it's a kiddie jail, when you're locked up, if you do the right thing, once a month they had like visits or whatever. So you would have like a weekend visit or like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. And I remember we got in a lot of trouble sometimes because we'd be joking around at nighttime, and when the lights are off, they want nothing because they don't want, you know, words to spark something, and people are fighting because there's less staff or whatever. So a couple of friends of mine, we were joking around, and we got dorm disturbances. That's what they called it. And we lost our Thanksgiving and our Christmas. That was rough. Like everybody was going home, and I had my little girlfriend. We're writing letters and stuff like that. And like, it was a rough time. But then, you know, I got out of there. I did, I kind of schemed my way out of there, though, because since I was going on 17, I told them, look, if I go outside, I'm never going to go back to school. It's just not going to happen. So I got my GED in there. So they put me in a GED program. Since I finished and passed my GED fast, there was still months left on my sentence, so they sent me to a group home. So I kind of schemed my way out of there because nobody really does that. You know, they usually have to do their time all the way through, but I wound up going to a group home, and then they semi said they were going to pay because I was going to be a big producer. So I went to the Institute of Audio Research. It was way over my head. It was just too much scientific math stuff, you know, like, and we never even stepped in the studio. I thought I was going to be like a big time producer or something like that. So I didn't do that. But
And you're what, 17?
yeah, I was 17. So it was just too over my head. You had people in there that were owning studios for years. They would just get in the paper just so they have it for the job. I had never touched a button in the studio in my life. But, you know, I was rapping and stuff like that. So I thought it would be good if I have like the technical side of it, you know? So when I came out, it was a struggle, you know? And like I said, my stepfather was very abusive. Well, now I'm 17. I think I'm a grown man. So there was one day that my sister came to me crying, and she's holding her hand over her face, and she's all red and crying. I'm like, you know how you get frantic? Like, yo, what happened? What happened? Mm-hmm. So she comes up to me and she says, he hit me. And I'm like, who hit you? She was like having a hard time. Told me my stepfather hit her. I was already 17. I put the beats on him. Something awful. Like I was hitting him. He fell a little bit. I was kicking him. And then my mother came and helped him. She hit me with a bat in the back. Not hard though. You know, a woman can't really crank it on you, but it was kind of more like, get off him, you know? And then they were like, get the hell out, and kick me and my sister out or whatever. And that's when we were with my grandmother for good after that, you know, because we had our issues. We're cool now. And he died. He wound up passing. He winded up, when he died, he wounded up telling me that like he was sorry for all the stuff he did. He was addicted to. He was another one that got caught up in the 80s with all the drugs, you know, so he got addicted, and that's why he was the person he was. I used to see the devil in his eyes. I used to always tell people, like, when he would get high, there was just like this redness in his eyes. I would see it where he was just a different person, and he was just like real evil, you know? But after that, I just kept progressing into worse and worse stuff. Like, I was already older now, so I wound up getting another charge, another robbery charge again. After that, I got probation, right? Because you're adult. When you have a juvenile charge, your adult charge, it doesn't. How do you explain it? Like, they don't count your child charge, so you could still get probation as an adult,
right?
Because I was already over 18 at this time.
They don't hold it against you.
Yeah, they don't hold it against you. So after that, me and my co-defendant, since they came to my house, I felt like he ratted on me. People went to other co-defendants, to the co-defendant's house. Turns out we went through all this stuff. Like, we went through a war. It was a shootout, everything. I got an attempt murder case behind it and all that. Turns out it was somebody that wasn't even one of us that snitched on all of us, you know? And we had this whole gun beef and everything that we went through, but I actually got shot too. I was in the hospital. Yeah, we had a shootout.
How does that happen? How does a shootout happen? I mean,
because we had beef.
I went to prison for mortgage fraud. Nobody's shooting each other in mortgage fraud.
Yeah, I know. He came after my sister because we had beef, and when he approached her, he was asking her where I was. And she was with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend fought him, beat him up, everything. But then after that, I was like, you came after my sister. It's on now. So one day I saw him, and he was in front of my building. I had just pulled up. So I jumped out the car. This is all, I already got tried for it, everything, beat the case, so I could talk about it. But we had an exchange of fire or whatever. He wound up with a bullet lodged in his cheek, which he still has to this day. Mine's went on my shoulder. In his cheek right here. Yeah. And mine's went in and out, so it just, healed up. But that day was crazy because somebody that I really valued as a good friend, I tried to pass him the strap because my arm, it was like Popeye. It's crazy. Have you ever witnessed that before? How like a body part could blow up? My arm literally was like Popeye. It was like huge. It was blowing up. And I had to like hold it up because it was just blood everywhere. It was blood all the way down. So I tried to pass him it, and he like pushed it back to me and opened the door. So I had to go up the stairs, go up the elevator to the 5th floor where we live, and I had to go in the house without touching things because I want to get blood all over everything. And I went and dropped it in the garbage can, came back out, and then I knocked on the neighbor's door so that they could call 911. And when I told them what had happened, like the husband, a woman came out first. I never met her, but she was a neighbor. Her husband was like, no, come back out. And she's like, yeah, but he's shot on the floor. He's like, no, we got to mind our business. She wound up, thank God, calling the cops. So I'm laid out on the floor, bleeding. The cops come. Who did this to you? Who did it? Like trying to interrogate me. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm gonna survive and you're interrogating me.
Yeah,
Can we save me first and then,
Right.
But I had a feeling I wasn't gonna die. I don't know why, because it was a 2.5 or a 2.2. I don't know what it was, but I never felt like I was gonna die, but I was drenched in blood. You never know. So it's like, aren't you gonna get me medical attention? Like, you asking me all these questions now. So I get brought to the hospital. And one thing that I left out, because it's key to the story, when I caught that the one that I got probation for, it turned out that the guy that we assaulted in this situation was an off-duty police officer. So they was trying to hit us with assault on police, but it didn't stick because he wasn't in uniform.
Right.
Yeah, and he wasn't even from our jurisdiction or whatever. He was like from another precinct. So when I'm in the hospital, it ties into this though. When I'm in the hospital, the cops come and they put the cuffs on me, and I'm like, why are you putting cuffs on me? Like, I'm shot. Like, where am I going? And they're like, the other guy said that you're the one who shot him. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I got hit. Look at me right here. Like, how did I shoot anybody? And it was a crazy situation. And when I was going to Central Booking is where they send you in Manhattan to get processed, or whatever borough you're in. They have their own Central Booking. So I got taken to Central Booking, and when I was going, my mother left clothes for me to leave. So I was supposed to put those clothes on and go to court and see what happens. The cops, since I had that first charge, they were like, oh yeah, you're so-and-so. We heard you're so-and-so that assaulted officer, blah, 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 blah. So they were like, yeah, your clothes, we don't know where they are. So I'm in a hospital gown with the ass out. You know, the old school ones that you got to tie up. I got on slippers that are not even slippers. They're like the ones that go over the nurse's foot. So it's like paper. Right. I have that on and just a robe, and I'm in a sling. I get brought to Central Booking like that. I go into Central Booking, and the first CO says, your charges are murder, attempt murder. I'm like, you mean attempt murder, right? And they're like, no, murder. He died. I'm like, my heart just dropped. I was like, my whole life is over. Like, I was sick. And I'm like, I'm looking crazy. My hair's all crazy. I'm just like, wow, I'm really, I really ruined my life. So when I go into the cell, the first person that I see is the OG of his neighborhood. Like, this dude, Jimmy, was like, he's like the real deal in our neighborhood. Everyone's scared of him. And the guy that I had the altercation with is from his block. So I'm like, I'm going to get washed up right now.
This is no good.
This is no good. So I didn't want to be sitting down and get attacked. So I just, as soon as I came in, I'm like, let's just get this over with, because it's going to happen. So I told him, I was like, you know why I'm here, right? And I told him, he was like, nah, why? And I was like, your boy? I let him have it on the block. Like, it got real. And I thought he was going to automatically get up and we were going to get into it. And he started laughing. And I'm like, why is he laughing? This guy's from his block. He's like, he's not from my block. He's from 207. He's just always there. Nobody likes him like that. I was like, whew. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sitting and we're just telling stories or whatever. And I'm sitting there looking like a fool with a hospital gown around gangsters, So I get pulled into the courtroom, and I'm just thinking, like, I'm going to be in jail for who knows how long, maybe the rest of my life or whatever. So I go into the courtroom, and I have this lawyer, and he's just like speaking plain English. I never understood. I don't know, when you got into your stuff, you were maybe like a little bit older, you understood everything that was being said. Whenever I was in court, I never understood the language, what they were saying or anything. But this lawyer was speaking plainly. I understood everything he was saying. He was so articulate. And he asked me, he was like, did you do this? And I was like, no. Like, I'm not telling you the truth. I was like, no. So he's like, all right. And he fought hard. And when he spoke to the judge, he was like, you already let his co-defendant go. You have to let him go too. And they're like, no, because if they see each other on the street, it's going to be a problem and it's just going to escalate. And he was like, still, by law, you let him go, you have to let him go too. They let me out. I was like, he was like, all right, you could go home. I'm like, for real?
No bond?
No bond. No bond. ROR. You know what's good though? I've always got ROR because I've gotten locked up several times and I never ran.
Right.
So that's why in New York, there's so much crime that it's easy actually to get ROR if you're not a runner,
Yeah, I was going to say, Florida, you got a gun. You just got into a gun, like a little gun battle. No, yeah. You're not getting ROR. You're putting up a chunk of money.
Well, they didn't have the weapon.
Right, but clearly people were shot.
Yeah.
It's not like,
so they would have kept both in.
They probably would have kept both, or given you some outrageous bond that you it would be difficult to, difficult to come up with.
So when did you, or how did you find out that he wasn't dead?
Oh, so right there, the lawyer, I was like, I thought the guy died or whatever. He's like, what are you talking about?
This is the cops
like,
fucking with you.
He's like, yeah, he was like, they do that sometimes. They want to scare you when you're in there. So I get out of there and I don't have a cell phone or anything. This isn't those days, like this is when people start, well, in the 80s, they had the big brick phones, but I didn't have a cell phone at that time. So I called my mother through his phone. I'm like, Ma, they actually let me out. Like, and she was like, for real? And I was like, I need to take a cab to get home. So she was like, just jump in any cab and go home. So I'm standing on 161st Street. Have you been there before? Where the Yankee Stadium is? It's right there. It's like 2 blocks from Yankee Stadium. Where the courthouse is. 4 blocks.
I've been where Times Square is. Like that's the only time.
Square? Yeah. So right where Yankee Stadium is, I'm standing out there with a hospital gown, soft slippers, looking foolish. So I get in the cab, I get home, and everything, like at that point, I bumped into him on the street and we actually shook hands and squashed the beef. Like we took it to that level and actually shook hands and squashed the beef. And
what about the charges?
The charges got dismissed because they had no weapon. Nobody was really saying anything. So it was like, it just got dismissed. I don't know how.
So when the cop said, he said you shot it, that was all bullshit. Okay. I thought maybe he had said you, and then so he's ready to testify. But if he doesn't say anything,
he didn't testify.
Okay.
So maybe they was just doing that too to like get me to say he did it or something, and then like have that whole thing, and then they could get both of us. That's one thing that like the young kids got to learn too is like, don't talk to them at all. Like I remember being young, trying to scheme, talk my way out of it. You're a kid. They're gonna always get you to say something that incriminates yourself.
They've heard everything.
Yeah,
they've heard all,
and they can just look at you and know you're lying by your body language and everything.
And they're not there to help you. That my whole thing growing up was that the cops are here to help. But growing up, I grew up in an upper middle class neighborhood. So to us, the cops are like servants, not service, but like they're public servants where they're there to help you. They, you have a problem, you call the police. They'll come, they'll straighten it out. They'll do this. They'll look in the backyard. They'll do whatever. But that's not really how it is.
Where I'm from, we looked at them as the devil. Like they wanted us all locked up. That's how we looked at it. We hated cops, growing up. After all of that, I just I had a couple years where I was doing music and I was getting on like Hot 97 and stuff like that. I started going a positive route and things started to go really well. And then I started getting offers because I started getting, when I was getting the Hot 97 play, Hot 97 is the main station out there for hip hop and R&B. So I was getting played like late hours or whatever from DJ Camilo, and I started getting a lot of traction. I was on a lot of mixtapes, and I made a bad decision. There was DJs that wanted to manage me. I chose the drug dealers from Washington Heights to be my managers. So they're taking us to the clubs. Every day we're going to a club except for one day. I don't know if it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. I want to say it was a Wednesday. But I mean, we were everywhere. Club New York, Jersey Girls. Like they had different places. Club Exit. We would go to a club and then go to an after club. Exit at that time would open at 4 a.m. So they're paying for VIP. They got people that hustle for them that are underage that they're just paying the bouncers. We're all in there deep, popping bottles. It was a fun time, but I started to fall off with the music because it was all party, and it wasn't like any productiveness. So I wound up falling out with them because I had a management contract with them and they wanted to start their own record label. So they wanted me to sign to the I didn't want to sign a label deal with somebody that had no distribution or anything like that. So I wound up getting out of that. And then after that, I was dead broke because they were paying for my apartment. They were paying for everything for me. So I started to sell drugs myself. It didn't start like that. I met this girl from Haverstraw in Rockland County, which is like up from New York where the Palisades Mall and stuff like that is. Everybody thinks that's Jersey, but that's upstate New York. And I started dating this girl. I started staying with her. She worked at a bar. And at the bar she worked at, the guy that owned it was like a front. He was like selling coke or whatever. So I started hustling for him. And what I started to do was I started to have people that would be like, I don't like coming here. Is there a way you could come to me? And I'm like, nah, I can't do that. It's an in-house operation. They were like, yo, you should really think about starting your own operation. I'm like, for real? So I started talking to a friend of mine and I got some of my own stuff. So I would add like a couple in to his and then sell it. And I was making like way more money. So then I started eventually like having so much outside clientele that I started doing it on my own. And I did that for probably like 7 years. I was living my best life. I had a little Ford Explorer and then I got a Navigator, and I'm in my early 20s with a Navigator. The cops are like, who is this kid? Who does he think he is? And
that for the whole time you never got busted that whole time?
oh yeah, I did time for it.
Oh, okay.
I was not good at crime. I say I wasn't good at crime. I mean, I lasted for 7 years, but what messed me up is that my cousin had came home from Green, and that's a prison in New York, and he was Crip. So when he came home, the Bloods had ran down on him one day in the park. They had chased him out the park. So he comes to me all frantic, yo, they just chased me. So I'm in my little Ford Explorer. I got my bats and stuff. So I grab them, and then we see a bunch of them. So I said, we're going to pull up, and we're just going to come out with the bats and just smash everybody. We got out. Everybody started running. So a friend of mine's, Dougie, that I grew up with, he's a real shooter too. He always was strapped. I saw him and I'm like, yo, where are these dudes? They just chased my cousin. And he knows my cousin for years. He was like, yeah, they're with me. And I'm like, so these are your people? So why are they running down? And then he tells me, he was like, your cousin is Crip. I'm Blood. So this is how it is now. And he had a gun like this. And he's like, if you ever come by my boys again, you know what's gonna happen. He had it up on my car. And I'm the type of person, like, I don't know if I'm a little crazy or what, or I just kind of know when somebody's not gonna pull the trigger. And I told him, I was like, I'm gonna tell you something. If they ever come after my cousin again, you're gonna have to deal with me. And let me tell you something, when I pull it out, I'm not just gonna show it. I'm gonna pull it out and use it. And then I just pulled off. And I caused a separation where they stopped messing with him because they were a little nervous because I already had put in work around the way. And like an idiot, I used to always tell them, like, why are you doing this? These dudes are not there for you. You have all these problems because he became a Crip in jail. So I'm like, you're bringing this home and nobody's Crip out here. So I'm the one defending you. Why are you in this shit? So I winded up getting down with him like an idiot instead of pulling him out of it. Because I'm like, he's my cousin. He's hard-headed. He's not going to stop. So I started, and then it turned into a whole thing where everybody started getting down with it. And I even met like people where it started out because we were Grape Street and they come from Watts in California. So I met Dita as one of the ones that lived out there. And then we got really plugged in. And I started knowing all the other Crip sets. And then I had a crazy situation happen because of my cousin. He's a lot of the key to a lot of my problems. He lent the gun to one of the members, and one of the members didn't give it back. So we went to his house, and he thought that we were coming to do something to him. But we was just coming to tell him, like, yo, give it to him. And, like, you know. And he wound up telling the other chapter. I didn't know he was dealing with another chapter. And I actually had a huge home invasion because they were mad at my cousin and they wanted to get back at me. So I went through that situation. That's like the worst thing you could ever go through. I was shot. I way rather take a bullet right now than deal with a home invasion, because the home invasion it's a mental thing. It messes with your head. Like, oh, they could get me in my house while I'm sleeping or whatever. Being shot does not compare to the mind, like what it does to your mind with a home invasion. I went through like some depression because of it. But what happened was my cousin had a gun and he gives it to one of the members of one of the gangbangers, and the kid keeps it, doesn't give it back. We go to his house and he thinks we're going there to jump him. We weren't. We were going there to like tell him to come outside and then squash the whole thing out. So they came to my house, and that day I was like not on point. I'm wearing my basketball shorts. I'm ready to I forgot what I was doing. I was like eating or something. I'm there with my daughter. She's like 3 at that time or 4 or something like that. And somebody was supposed to come to do something to the apartment. So usually when I look at the peephole, like in the Bronx, you know, we have the peephole or whatever, you look through the peephole, and I didn't see anybody. That should have been a red flag. But I thought it was like I think it was the the people that come by for like I forgot what you call it, for like bugs and stuff like that. What do you call that?
Pest control.
Yeah, like a pest control type thing. Well, apartment buildings have that like once a month they come, because it gets bad if you have like a messy neighbor. So I thought it was them. So I go to open the door, I see all my enemies. So I'm like, my eyes just lit up, and I go to slam the door, and his older brother, sticks his leg in the door. So I'm like pushing it. These dudes must have been weak, or I must have had that scared strength, because it was 8 of them pushing the door. And I'm like, I'm pushing. And like, I'm getting tired though, and his foot is in the door, and he has a knife, and he's sticking it, trying to go like that and stab. So I go like that and I slam it, and then it like falls down, but then they push through, because I got tired from pushing it again. So they push through. I'm fighting with him, and it drags out towards the where the bedroom is, towards the kitchen. So they start jumping me or whatever. And then all of a sudden, one of the other members has a gun pointed at me, and one of the ones that's wrestling with me on the floor is like, don't. And another one is like, shoot him. And he's aiming the gun at me. I look to my left, and I see my daughter crawling towards me. And I'm like, man, is this how I'm going to go out in front of my daughter like this? Like, am I this much of a fuck up that I'm going to ruin my daughter's life? And she's going to see her father get splattered, as a baby, And I'm like, why would they take it to this extent? Like, I never did nothing wrong to them. These were people that were in my same chapter, but they wanted to get at my cousin. So they got at me in return. So I don't know what happened, but he didn't pull the trigger. And I winded up getting out of that situation. But it haunted me for years. Like, it made me like not trust anybody. It made me feel like somebody could come after me at any moment. Like, I don't wish that on anybody. That feeling of a home invasion it's a different level. And I thought it was over for me. I thought I was gone. But I believe that when you go through like a experience like that and you make it through, I think it means you have purpose. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's something that I hold in my heart. Like, it wasn't my time yet, Mm-hmm. And I went through a lot after that. Like, I was like ostracized from everybody I knew. And it was like, but I also like was like thinking about my daughter, like, what kind of life am I giving her being a Crip when I have custody of my daughter and I got these people coming to try to kill me, you know what I mean? With my daughter sitting right there, and it's just, that's why, like, on my channel, I talk about a lot of stuff, and I have a younger demographic. So I tell them, I just put my life out there, and not to ever glorify it, just so they see, like, just don't do this shit. It's not worth it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so I had a home invasion.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
I talked about it.
Tennessee and Nashville, right?
Yeah. Did I talk about it on the?
Well, I just know that it was a home invasion. Like, I didn't know that you.
Yeah,
were
I never get into it either, because it is so fucked up,
It's
and
dark.
it's such a horrible feeling of just complete vulnerability.
Yeah.
And we had I think he was probably 3 or 4 years old. My girlfriend's son was there. My girlfriend was there. I was there. These guys had us lay down, threw a blanket over us.
Wow.
And they threw the blanket over us while they're searching the house. And so I'm there.
Like, over your head so you can't see what they're
So
doing?
we couldn't see them. Now, they had masks on, but they threw the blanket over, and we're laying down, and she's sitting there, her son's there, and she's sitting there crying, saying, oh my God, they're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. Like, first of all, your kid's here. Like, shut up. Don't say that in front of him. He's 4 years old. He understands what's happening. And he's sitting there just like this, like petrified, scared. And I'm saying, what do you guys want? And so they're doing two things. Their adrenaline spikes, right? Mm-hmm. So, well, first of all, the way they got in, I was actually just got out of the shower, just put on, like, I think I had maybe my jeans and a t-shirt on. I don't even think I had shoes on. And I'm like drying my hair or something, or doing something. I don't know what I was doing, fixing my hair, whatever. And I hear bam. And I thought my girlfriend's son, like, it's, what it sounded like? Like the TV, like a flat screen TV, bam! Because that was all I could think of. Yeah. It's the only thing that could have made that kind of sound. Like, it was a smack. But really, it was the guy just ran up to the door and just, bam, kicked it open. Our front door. And our doors opened inward. So when he kicked it, and they were double doors, bam!
Wow.
So he comes running in, or there's two of them. They run in. So by the time I walk around to walk in and see, like, what the fuck happened, as soon as I turn around the corner, boom, the guy's got his gun right in my face. And I was like, whoa, and I hear screaming. So now they're screaming, and they grab her, and she's all hunching, and they lead her out, and he was like, get on the ground. I get down, she gets down. They bring Cameron, the little boy, in. He lays down. They throw a blanket over us. The moment they felt through the blanket over us, though, I immediately thought, even though she's saying, they're going to kill us, they're going to kill us, they're going to kill us, I remember thinking, no, we're fine.
Oh, yeah?
Because I thought, they didn't throw the blanket over us because they're going to kill us. They threw the blanket over us because they don't want us seeing them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to hide their identity. Like, don't look. They're like, keep your head down, keep your head down. So I thought if he was going to kill us, you know, they may have already probably would have killed us. They kicked in that front door. That was as loud as a gunshot.
Yeah.
So, and obviously they don't have a lot of time. They kick that door in. It's bam. Like, I got neighbors that are right next door. There's people on both sides of me. Like, people probably are calling the cops already. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But regardless, I knew that the way they're rushing around, and I just started yelling, "What do you want? What do you want?" And then at the same time, I'm screaming, "What do you want?" They're screaming, "Where's the money?" And they're saying, "Shut up." So it's like, do you want me to shut up, or you want me to tell you where the money is? So I'm like, "What do you want? What do you want?" And they're like, "Where's the money? Where's the money?" I go, "I got watches and jewelry over here." I'm down. But I'm pointing. I got my arm out of the thing. I go, "There's watches in the dresser. There's jewelry over here. There's money over here." They grabbed our Cartiers. I bought my girlfriend a Cartier, and then I think I had one, and I had a couple Rolexes. Boom! They grabbed that. They grabbed her. They took our car, one of our vehicles. Like $100,000, at least $100,000 worth of cash. And then while they're grabbing everything, I remember we probably had another 100,000 or so. I don't remember exactly how much in the freezer. And she's like, "What about the money in the freezer? Should we tell them?" I'm like, "Shut the fuck!" Like, I just gave. These guys did not expect to just get.
I would have been like, "It's over." You don't think?
Yeah, they didn't trust me. The cash I gave them, they didn't expect that. Like, these are guys that at this level, they're hoping to get 10 grand, 20 grand. They'd be thrilled.
I would have just told them where the money is, not the rollies and all that.
But I mean, they were kind of like on the counter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they're screaming like, "Where's the jewelry? What's that?" I'm like, Like, all I'm thinking is, what?
Get them out.
I can steal more money.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I can't have something happen to me or her or her son. Like, I'll never get over that. So anyway, and they're sitting there, and they're grab where's this? And I think they grabbed the gun safe. Did they grab the gun safe, or did they not grab the gun safe? No, they did. They grabbed the gun safe because I remember the only thing they didn't find. They took the gun in the gun safe. They found the receipt because I got charged with a gun. I got it dropped, but I was charged with constructive possession of a firearm by a convicted felon when actually I'd never touched the gun. My girlfriend had a gun.
Yeah.
And when the cops raided me later, when the Secret Service raided me, they found a receipt and they charged me. "You had a gun."
Secret Service
grabbed me. I mean, I had the FBI, Secret Service, U.S. Marshals, but the Secret Service is the one who caught me.
Isn't the Secret Service for the president?
Yeah, they do counterfeiting, they do they do identity theft, they do anything to deal with the financial infrastructure of the United States. So banking, anything falls under their purview. Although, of course, the FBI can also do it too. A lot of it overlaps.
Yeah.
So anyway, but these guys, it's like there's so much yelling and screaming, and then suddenly, and you hear, you realize, and so then you're like, "Are you here? Hello?" And you get up, and we, get out there, and I'm on the run. I'm wanted. I called the police.
Yeah.
I called the police.
Yeah.
So we called the police. They showed up, and I remember too when they showed up, they were like, "What were they wearing?" We were like, "This," and I said they had gloves on because I don't want them to dust. Like, don't dust. You dust my place, you're going to get my fingerprints.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem. But they didn't dust or anything. And I actually had a surveillance tape of the robbery because we had surveillance cameras inside and outside of the house. So we had that. But
but them having the mask on is almost like a cheat code, right?
Yeah, it's nothing's going to.
I didn't call the police because if I did, it would have been all over the internet. They would have been like, "He's a rat." Like, our community, it was like, you don't have that. You know what I mean? Like,
you're supposed to take care of it yourself.
Yeah.
The fuck am I going to take care of? There's 8 fucking guys just broke in my area.
Do you think that there's a possibility that those were feds?
So I always heard that. I don't, but I always get these people who are like, because here's the thing. The same time that happened, the woman that turned me in had called the police and told them where I was. Now, the Secret Service. The Secret Service didn't show up for a few more days. Now, on their reports, of course, they were talking with this woman who told them where I was, but it's not for a few more days before they show up at my house, and they watch the house for 3 days, and then they grab me. So everybody, the time works out. I don't see the Secret Service or the people that grab me being involved in something like this, and these were street guys. I definitely felt like they were street guys.
But you're on the run. How do they know what you have?
I don't know. I kind of feel like I was set up by a guy.
Like somebody you trusted in.
It's
always that though.
It wasn't that he necessarily knew exactly, but here's what happened was one of the things that the guy said was he said something about we know you're dirty or you're doing dirt. We know about one of the guys had said something about the birth certificates. We know you're dirty. We know you're making them birth certificates. And he's saying stupid shit. And I only knew really one or two guys who knew that I was had fake birth certificates. And I was able to take a fake birth certificate and get a social security card and then go get an ID. So there was only like two people that knew that. And one was my general contractor and one was a buddy of his that was, he flipped houses and stuff. So it was, and I don't think my general contractor would do this. He was too soft of a guy. It was the other guy. And everybody he knew had been in and out of prison. So I think he set me up. And they all knew I had cash. The reason I think they came after the cash was because Dateline was coming out. I knew there was this 1 hour special coming out on me on Dateline. So 2 weeks prior to that, we had already started cashing checks. So I've asked him to cash a check for $8 or $9 grand, her to cash one for $4,000. You cash one for $6. And I'm giving them they cashed it for $9, and I'm giving them $500 or $600 to do it. But nobody didn't pay me. Like they're showing up. But I also know that this one guy knows. My name was Carter at the time. They're like, Carter's cashing a lot of checks. He's obvious something's going. He didn't know what's going on, but he knows I've cashed at least. He's cashed 20 or 30,000, and he sees me talking to all the other contractors. He knows this guy cashed at least 5 or 6,000. This guy did at least 20. He did 25. He knows there's probably 100,000, maybe 200,000 that he knows about.
Wow.
Let alone what Amanda cashed, I cashed, she cashed, what I'm cashing in different IDs names. So he doesn't know what's happening, but he knows there's some cash somewhere.
Yeah.
Plus, he knew about the birth certificates. So when these guys said that, I thought he set me up.
Yeah.
And I can't say that anything to the cops. I can't say anything about anything. I'm semi hoping they catch them, semi not really giving a shit.
Yeah.
But being thrown on the ground, with my girlfriend and her son and the guns and the whole thing, absolutely just feel like when I tell my story, typically I never mention it.
Yeah, I've never heard that. We've been doing this 3 years. I've never heard that story.
Yeah. I might say I had a home invasion, but I breezed through it so quick.
Yeah.
I don't talk about, because,
Is it the darkest moment for you? What would you say is your darkest moment?
Well, I would say being sentenced to 26 years was pretty bad. That's a horrifically horrible, but as far as being extremely vulnerable and feeling like you could be shot and killed. And so even though it was only a few seconds between the guy with the gun, the two guys with guns pointing guns at me and leading my girlfriend who's hunching over like this, and and her little boy's like crying, and that, even though that was only less than 30 seconds until they threw the blanket over. And when they threw the blanket over, I immediately thought, I think we're going to be okay. Like maybe that was my adrenaline telling me we're going to be okay.
Nah, it's your gut.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like maybe it was just me.
Because I felt like that when I got shot. I was like, I'm not going to die. I felt it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, intuition, your gut, whatever, but that 30 seconds or that situation, it was so, never felt that, like you're just so powerless. There's nothing I can do. You always think you can do something.
Yeah.
There's nothing I could do.
I know.
And it's not getting some time. It's I could be killed. She could be killed.
Yeah.
The little boy could be killed.
How crazy is it that your situation was similar to mine with the little kid involved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that. And yeah, I mean, I feel, I don't know. I don't know that he knew he would listen. The kid was never quiet ever. He was quiet as a mouse. The look on the terror on his face.
Oh, he saw it?
Oh, yeah.
Good thing my daughter was oblivious when it happened. She was like smiling, crawling towards me, and
she didn't really realize.
Yeah. She didn't know. She was too little. She didn't really know.
He was at least 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And now we're YouTubers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to put those stories in the real podcast for something else on Patreon.
I was gonna say I tell you what, none of those guys ever said they never said anything like shoot him. Like if I'd heard shoot him, that would have, that's a much more, not that it wasn't serious, but they was more, like get down, do this, do that. There, if I'd heard, shoot him. Oh, I'd have fucking.
It was so crazy too, because the person that was saying shoot him was someone that I never did anything wrong to, had no reason to like have that type of animosity. He was just in that type of, I don't know, he was just like all the way in or something, and he was saying something that I don't think he really believed, because he had no real reason to want me dead. It wasn't like the person that actually we went to his house that that was part of my chapter. He wasn't saying that. He was like, no, don't. Like it was weird, really weird situation. Yeah. But I know it happened to push me in a new direction. Like I was never gonna leave that world, and that's why that happened. I needed to be forced out, And I believe that was whatever you believe in. I believe in God, but it was like God or energy or whatever was taking me out of that life, And I wound up leaving the life after that because I just couldn't trust anybody anymore. Like after it happened, I told the people that were in my chapter what happened, and they were like, I didn't like the way they reacted. They weren't like, yeah, let's go. So I'm like, I'm going to go through all this for people that's not even going to ride for me. So I just wound up getting out that game, and it was rough, it was rough. Because when you're in a circle like that and everybody knows you, it's like your whole world is like, it's so strange. Like you feel like nobody's your friend anymore, if that makes any sense. And it took a while to get out of that bubble. And I had a friend, my boy Arson, he's actually in the Unknown Bikers right now, a 1% club. There's a famous documentary about them too, but they're involved with a famous documentary, but they're big in New York. So he was in this auto club. It was called The Click. So he was like, why don't you join this? Because I think it's like I didn't have any brothers growing up, so I wanted to just have that brotherhood, like have some.
I was thinking, why click? Why join anything?
I know, and it was that I always was thirsting for like that brotherhood. Like I never had that like group of guys that we were all friends and had each other's back. It was all so grimy in New York. You almost have to be forced in those kind of situations. I think that's why a lot of people join stuff. You almost have to be forced to be loyal to a certain extent, if that makes any sense. So I got into that, and it was good. I mean, we were partying. We were just having a good time. We were all over New York they were in this big coalition because they were a support club to the Unknown Bikers, which is a 1% club. And we were in their support club. So they had like 50 clubs under it. So like every weekend, a club is having a national. A national is like your year anniversary of your club. So like every other week, there's like a huge party or just going to another clubhouse. So it was a lot of fun. And then I wound up breaking up with a girl at that time that was pregnant, and then I don't know if she was lying or what, but we wound up breaking up, and I was like New York was just like so much was going on at that time, like where like not like beefing and stuff like that, but just like I don't know, like I felt like I didn't have purpose anymore. So I had a friend that was constantly telling me like, yo, come to Connecticut. You're not doing nothing in New York. What are you doing? So I went up, and I didn't like it. It was rough because I'm so used to like New York. You could go to the store at 4 a.m. if you want to. You could get food at any time of the day in New York, literally in the middle of the night. The Arabic people the Muslim people will give you like chopped cheese or something, like a burger. You know what a chopped cheese is? Like, it's like a hero. You know what a hero is? Mm-hmm. So you have a hero with like hamburger meat, but it's like chopped up on a hero with cheese. And it was great. It was really good, unhealthy stuff. But doing that.
But in Connecticut, that's not happening.
Nah. Connecticut is like, the food sucks in Connecticut. It sucks.
It sucks. You've been to Ian Vick's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything was spread out. Like everything's.
Yeah. It's a boring state. I think it's the reason why I was able to grow big on YouTube, because it's so boring. I could just lock in. Like when I go to California a lot, because a lot of the big interviews are in California. When I go out there, I have so much fun. It's like, I don't think I would be as productive. But
okay.
Yeah. But California is a funny place though, because whenever I'm out there, it's like you somehow connect with somebody like famous. It's weird. Like they just have like a lot of stars, I guess, because everybody moves out there. Yeah. So it's like easier to connect with stars for some reason. Like a friend has a friend. But yeah, like so I moved to Connecticut, and they all were riding. They weren't really like, they were all riding bikes. They weren't auto club. So I was like one of the only ones that was auto club up there of the clique. So eventually they're like, yo, get a bike, get a bike. So I wound up getting a bike. I got a cruiser. They all had street bikes. I never wanted to ride a street bike, sport bike. I call them street bikes, but sport bike, because I know a lot of people won't know what that means. But I had good times there. You know, I was riding, and then my cousin got pushed out, and he went to a 1% club, and I just liked the way they moved, the way everything looked, and I.
What are you? I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but what are you doing for work right now during this time?
At that time,
yeah.
I don't think I had started the hospital yet. All right, so I was working as a mental health worker. At that time, yeah, I was working as a mental health worker. First, I was like working at Mohegan Sun, like pulling out the sets. Like if WWE came, we would like put up everything, or Ariana Grande or whatever, we would set up everything.
Okay.
So I liked that job a lot. But I stopped working there because I had a motorcycle wreck, and my shoulder was too messed up at the time to like do stuff. I could lift heavy, but for some reason we was putting together a UFC ring, and I had to do a motion like this to like unzip, like unvelcro something, and this motion killed my shoulder. But I'm fast forwarding a little bit because that happened after. But so he goes to this 1% club, and he's like, yo, you got to come with me. This is hardcore, that stuff. You know, the 99 clubs are soft. Like, you join a 1%. And I always felt like I was of that caliber. So I wound up making the jump to that. And that's how I'm able to talk about so much things now on YouTube, because I actually lived that 1% lifestyle. You know, I was a sergeant of arms in a club, you know, and there was a lot. When we first were in Connecticut, there was turmoils with other clubs. And I really had to stamp down, like, we're not going to accept what was going on. Because before I moved out there was certain things where they had got jumped, certain things were going on. I let them know, listen, I'm out here now. This is not happening, you know, because I'm not going to sit here and get bullied by some club because I decided to join this club. So we ironed that out, and we were good in our state, you know.
So let me ask a question, because Colby and I already looked it up. What is a 1% club?
So a 1% club is they have a diamond shaped patch on their vest, and it's supposed to be the elite of all clubs. And this 1% patch, if you're not of the caliber, you're going to get ran. You know, like, you're not going to be able to wear that patch and be able to move around. So there's a lot of territory dispute and stuff like that to wear this 1% diamond. You know, like the Hells Angels are 1% diamond, the Pagans are 1% diamond. A lot of the big four, all the big four clubs, the Banditos, all these clubs are diamond holding clubs.
So when I was locked up, I was locked up with Big Jim Nolan. I guess he was at some point he'd been the president of the Outlaws in Florida.
Yeah.
And I was also locked up with a guy named Grasshopper. And somebody had said, like, you know, they were 1%ers or something. And then the guy ended up telling me that there was a sheriff. There was some sheriff that it had started with. There was some sheriff. There was a bunch of motorcyclists in his town, and the news was there, and they were questioning. They were like, "Oh, is everything okay?" And he was like, "Nah." He's like, "Look, it's 99% of these guys are law-abiding citizens."
Mm-hmm.
He was just that 1% that we're concerned that you have to be concerned about. But then Colby and I looked it up yesterday because I was trying to find like that clip. Like, oh, it'd be cool if I could find that clip.
Yeah,
I couldn't. We ended up just finding a clip of a. I guess it was a motorcycle, like a gang, and they were talking like that president, and he was explaining that he was like the same. He was the same thing. He's like 99% of these guys are just riding bikes. He said, but 1%ers are. These are the guys that don't want to live by. They understand that there's rules that hold society together, but he's like, but they're not going to follow those rules. They're going to follow their own set of rules. And
so the ones who said that were the AMA, the American Motorcycle Association, and it happened in California. The Booze Fighters is an infamous club. They're one of the clubs that were out there. It used to be all about racing and stuff. And I don't know where the separation happened, but some people just didn't want to fall under the AMA's rules. The AMA was like kind of oppressive, like how people think of 1%ers now, like you can't wear this, you can't do that. The AMA was that. So these clubs decided to say, F you, we're 1%, we're going to stay 1%. After the AMA made that statement that like 99% are law-abiding bikers, the rest are just like the worst kind of human beings. So they began to embrace that moniker, like, yeah, we're 1%, who cares? We don't want to be affiliated with you, you know?
Okay. So what? So you're. So what do you guys? What does it consist of? I mean, are you guys like? I mean, you hear different things, and I've seen. Well, first of all, just from writing books and talking to guys, and I actually there's a guy Pierre Rossini that I wrote a book called Devil Exposed, and one of the things in the larger book I wrote two. I wrote an abridgment and then a full length book. In the full length book, like he talks about like initially. Initially he was making, and then, but the precursor materials were becoming illegal. And so I remember like the Hells Angels or somebody, whoever's in I think it is the Hells Angels in LA and California had come to them and they had the precursor materials that they couldn't get. Oh. And they were like, but they didn't want it. They were like, we don't want it. They were like, we want ice. And he's like, well, they wanted like meth. Yeah. He was like, and they said, we can get you those materials if you guys can make it. You're making it. You can make ice, like you're a chemist. So they brought him. He's like, I mean, like a 50-gallon barrel. Like he's like, wow. They had tons. So this is when they were making all these all the materials illegal, like Sudafed and all these things. So you had to break it all the way down to the precursor materials and then create create these different things. Anyway. He had dealt with the Hells Angels there for a long time, and they were dealing in like meth and stuff. Like when people think of biker gangs, like they think to me it's like the mob, but more drug related. Like it's extortion, it's dealing in drugs, that sort of thing. But I also see them as having these big the clubs, like they have rallies, they have like it's much more cohesive. Is that how you think of it?
It's a lot of it is propaganda. Like. I'll be honest with you. I think personally, like I've been around all the clubs because now that I've been doing this and I left from my club, I party with the Mongols, the Vagos, the Pagans. Like when I was in the club, I was at Halloween, the Hells Angels events, all that. So what I see is that maybe a chapter somewhere gets their money like that, but it's not a nation. Right. All collecting. It's not a like organized crime. Like we're gonna all do this and we're gonna all break even. Break bread with each other. A lot of it is propaganda. And honestly, a lot of the raids, like I personally know with the Pagans myself, that people will have legal guns. They'll do a huge raid. They'll take everybody's guns. They'll take a couple people's vests, lay it on the table, and be like, yeah, this is a RICO. They're running drugs, whatever. And it'll be like. One member was doing his own thing on the side with somebody else, and they'll have those two people, but he happened to be a member. So then they say, oh, the Pagans did this, and that. It's a lot of it is propaganda to look sexy for like TV. Because when you put those vests and stuff, it's more, it looks more like, oh, they're doing their thing. They really did something big. I noticed that about Grady, what's his name? Judge Grady or whatever. You guys Grady, love him out here. Yeah. But he did the same thing with the Pagans. One of the brothers went and tried to get a hooker. So he meets up with this girl. It turns out that the hooker is like an undercover agent. So then they do this huge press conference with all these people that are like human trafficking and all that. Yeah. They hang his vest up and say, yeah, the Pagans were part of this. I wonder what your club is going to think about you. I mean, the guy was going to get a hooker, and you got him in a huge thing that's like a sex trafficking ring. It's dishonest. It makes it look like it's a huge deal that you did a huge bust, but it's really not that.
I was gonna say I was gonna do I'm not gonna sit here and listen to you talk bad about the federal government. No. Listen, I can't, like the guy Grasshopper. Oh, listen, he owns a construction company. And these guys came, like the government came to, they knew he was like I don't know if he was the president or where he was, but they came to him and they said, look, like they're flying in drugs. I'll probably get the story wrong, but they're flying in so much drugs. We need you guys to help us unload the plane or the truck, whatever. And they offer him money. And at first he says no, and they keep offering more and more and more. And then he's like, okay, well, they wanted to sell him stuff. He's like, I'm not interested in that. And then it was just help us unload it. So you're desperately trying to get him connected because there's a group. And so what they do is they end up saying, look, can you get some of your guys to help? And then he's like, yeah. He goes to the guys. He's like, I'll give you a couple $100 if you'll help me unload this fucking thing. He's like, yeah, sure. Like none of this is really connected to the gang or the group itself. It's just like, I know these guys, like, because I know all the guys in the club. These are my buddies. We hang out. So he asks them. They come in. They unload a shipment. Then they bring in another shipment because they're trying to you have to, if you move so much, you keep hitting these different plateaus where they can give you more time.
Oh.
So they have him ship. It's multiple shipments. They're asking him to bring weapons or just in case, whatever. He does bring a weapon. They unload it, and then eventually they bust them all. And now you're a part of this huge RICO case where really you're just unloading a vehicle. We're not selling the drugs. We're just labor. You guys brought us into this. And of course, they go to trial. They lose.
Yeah.
They all get like fucking 30 years, 45 years. But the truth is, like, you put me into a conspiracy that I wasn't really a part of.
Yeah.
You made me a part of a RICO case. You put it together. You guys laid it all out. You made sure that there were multiple times that we unloaded. You made sure there were multiple people there. You made sure we brought weapons. You made sure we transported drugs. You're the one. But when it laid out in the newspaper in front of the jury, it's a well-oiled machine that's part of a huge RICO case to import and distribute drugs. No, I'm moving drugs from here to here. That's all I did. But he gets 45 years and he's still in prison to this day. And so I mean, I've seen that happen over and over again.
I think it's a way to keep like dominant men like out of the picture, like lock them up there too, because I feel like they want like a nation of like sheep people that are weak, don't work out, stuff like that.
Well,
Bikers,
they
people that are getting
now.
money, they're more masculine, so they're like about their money, they're on the chase, they're more hardcore. They want those people off the street. They want a bunch of soft people that are just gonna listen, running around everywhere.
Well, they
and
don't.
I'm noticing that
The government doesn't have to do that. They got TikTok, and they got them doing that for them now,
Yeah.
like in a massive way that the government could never pull off. They have China, these. I know TikTok's not Chinese, whatever, but they come in and they've created this environment of.
Yeah, but TikTok is owned by ByteDance, right? That's China, right?
It's supposedly it's not owned by China. It's like a Chinese company that. But here's the problem: any company in China is partially owned by China.
Yeah.
They have regulators. They can argue, they can dance do their little dance where, oh no, we have no input. That's like saying that. How many times have you heard 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago that, oh no, the federal government, Facebook doesn't work with the federal government. YouTube doesn't work with the federal government. No, we have no input on what they do. And now it comes out that, oh no, every single day we're telling them, take this TikTok guy down, take this YouTuber down, don't push this product. Hey, we want this suppressed. We want this suppressed. Well, you guys denied all that before, but now it's are they owned by them? They're not on paper owned by them, but are they just an arm of the government that they'll do whatever the government says? Of course. If not, they just shut you down. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
And I think that's the same thing. It's funny, I mentioned this in a podcast yesterday where Fidel Castro had said one time, and this was in like the 60s or 70s, where he was talking about helping drug cartels import or drugs in general, because he was actually leasing out his airspace where you could fly into Cuba, refuel, and fly in. And he was saying that that drugs was the easiest way to undermine the American, the civilian population, was to get them hooked on drugs.
Yeah.
And now it's not drugs. Now I think it's like social media, and you got these kids that are watching. They're playing for 10 hours a day. They never go outside. They're pale white. They have no muscle tone. They're all hooked on. They're all on medication. You're 30 years old, 25 years old. You live with your parents. You don't have a driver's license. You don't have a job. You play video games. You've never had a girlfriend. You've never had sex. You're 25 years old. What the fuck is like?
They're even targeted
useless.
in their cartoons and everything they watch. When we were kids, it was He-Man, G.I. Joe. Everybody was muscular.
He-Man.
Look at the characters now. SpongeBob. Everybody's soft. Even the Ninja Turtles now are like a softer version, less cuts, less muscular. Yeah. They're like they want the boys to be so weak. It's insane. Like, it's obvious too. You could see it.
I loved He-Man. You don't even know what He-Man is, Colby.
He has blonde hair.
Yes, he does, and he's got like a sword. It's kind of like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
There was an asteroid that came by the Earth and destroyed the Earth and spun it in a different way, and we all went back to, fighting with swords. And that was a great.
I remember seeing this girl. I think this is about ADHD and all this stuff. Like, I seen this girl. She had a son. And she said that he had problems mentally and stuff like that. And he would do weird movements and stuff. And one day I'm sitting on the couch and I'm just watching him and he's watching SpongeBob. And she's like, he starts, I'm watching what he's watching and I look at him. He's mimicking SpongeBob and she thinks he has mental health issues. I'm like, look at what SpongeBob is doing and look at what your son is doing. He's emulating his favorite character.
Right.
That, and a lot of people don't know that's how kids are being trained. So the kids emulating SpongeBob where he's in there with the doctor or the psychiatrist and they're like, yeah, he got ADHD. He can't stay still.
I remember, did you ever see True Lies, the movie True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger? At some point, oh God, I forget Tom Arnold is the main, Arnold Schwarzenegger's sidekick or whatever. He works for the CIA with him. And he basically he has this little rant where he's talking about his daughter. And he's like, she's probably stealing from you too, because she had stole some money out of his wallet or something. And he's like, she's probably saving money for an abortion. She's probably on crack. She's probably, starts going through all this stuff. He said, and he's like, we raised her better than that. He's like, you didn't raise her. He's like, she's being raised by Madonna. This is, of course, 20 years ago. He's like, she's being raised by Madonna and so. He's like, the hour and a half you and Helen spend with her, or your wife spend with her a day, can't compete with the 10 hours that she's been bombarded with these performers. And it's just when he does this rant, it's a great rant. It's by Tom Arnold. And you listen to it, and it's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah.
Like the hour or 45 minutes that you spend with your kid, probably every day, probably not even talking to him. Mm-hmm. And that's if parents even spend any time on the weekend at all, which they probably don't. They go off with their friends and they play video games. So you are not raising your kids. Social media is raising your kids. And then when they end up starting on an OnlyFans, your daughter starts an OnlyFans account, and then you find out about it, and and all these things are going wrong. You're like, oh, I taught her better than that. No, you were just you were just boarding this chick. You didn't raise her. It's the school
system too, though. They think they own your kids.
Yeah.
They hated me. I have a daughter and I have one kid, and they used to tell me like, oh, she didn't come today. You got to give me a note. I said, you got to give me a note. If something is needed, you need to give it to me. I'm her father. If I say she stays home, she stays home. I don't answer to you. Click. And they just got used to not having the same standards with me that they have with other parents because they try to bully you. I remember, I didn't tell you, but my daughter, I went through a lot with my daughter. When I was locked up for my adult charge, when I got locked up for, hustling, they took my daughter away from her mother at like 2 months. So I'm sitting in jail, just stressed. Like, it was the worst feeling ever. I felt like my daughter was locked up and I was locked up. So when I came home, I wound up getting custody of her, but it was not easy because I came home and I'm like, well, I don't have a case, so I'm home. I'm her dad. Let me get my daughter. Once they have them in the system, it's hard. Like,
you got to jump through a bunch of hoops.
I had to jump through a bunch of hoops, and I'm on parole, and I'm on gang parole because you think they don't know. It's crazy because when I got out, I thought like maybe like COs knew I was in a gang, but they know who you sit with and everything, and they have you classified on paperwork. When I went to parole, I had to go to gang parole, and I'm like, why am I in gang parole? They're like, because you're a Crip, you sat with so and so, and I'm like, what? They knew everything, But when I was doing that, they said no. So I was like, what do I have to do to get my daughter? And they were like, well, you don't have to do anything. You're not a defendant in this case. Your daughter's mother is. So I said, so when it's court, it was like 2 months away or 4 months. I don't remember the exact numbers. Don't hold me on that. But they were like, we don't know what you would have to do. So I was like, let's give worst case scenario. What would I have to do if I go to court and they said, be in a drug program, get a parenting class, whatever. I did everything on my own. I didn't wait for them to tell me. So when we went to court, the what do you call it? The supervisor of ACS, that's child services, because she was in a foster home. She was around, I got out when she was probably like 10 months or something like that, 12 months. So she was in there for that time. So I did everything. I go up to court. The supervisor says, well, he's not a defendant. So if we get a letter from his parole, saying that, that he's been, doing what he's supposed to do, we'll give him his daughter. So we were going into lunch and I was like, I told my lawyer, I was like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna take a cab to my parole office, and I'm gonna get a letter from my parole officer. I went over there. He wasn't there. I asked the supervisor to speak to the supervisor. I told the supervisor, I said, listen, I could get my daughter right now if I just get a letter saying that I've been compliant and I haven't gotten in any trouble. And he was like, well, your parole officer's not here, so I can't do that. I don't know. So he said, listen, this is what I'm going to do for you since you're so adamant. I'm going to give you this letter.
Yeah.
But he said, if you did anything, even a little bit, came high one time, I'm going to violate you. You're going to go up north. So do you really want this letter? I was like, I want this letter. So I jump back in the cab. I go to court. So the lawyer for ACS says, he doesn't need to do programs or anything, but we just want to know that everything's okay with his parole, and they were going to push it longer and make a big case out of it. And I just was like, bam. And the judge was like, I have never seen anyone do what you just did. And he said, let me ask you one question, though, before I let you know if you could have your daughter or not. Do you want custody of her, or do you want your mother to have custody of her? Because my mother was with me. I was like, I want custody of her. She's my daughter. It's my responsibility. He gave me to her, and when it was all over, he said, the reason why I gave you your daughter is not because you going to get paperwork or anything. It's the fact that you're the first man I seen in here that actually didn't want your mother to take your kid. You wanted custody yourself. So he said, I believe in what you do. I was shocked that the judge pulled me to talk to me. He was inspired. And when I got out, the supervisor of ACS shook my hand. He was laughing. He was like, listen, respect. I never seen anybody go as hard as you did. And I got my daughter. I've had custody of her since. And I actually have more situations about that because when she was around 6, her mother came to me crying, let me get a chance, whatever. She's her mother. So I was like, all right, whatever. She goes, she's dating some blood dude with tattoos all over his face and everything. Knowing I was Crip for years. I mean, I left that world, but that's where you go. That's who you have around. So this dude was beating her up. I didn't know. And he wound up going to hit her one day and missing and hitting my daughter's sister. And they took all the kids out the house. I had to come back down again because they're in the Bronx. So I come back down from Connecticut. I'm at Connecticut at this time. And I go to the court, and they almost didn't want to let me have her because they're like, you were supposed to have custody of her. She should never be in this situation. I'm like, I'm letting her stay with her mother. This is her mother, And
was she living with her mother?
Yeah, I was leaving her there. Yeah. So and but I got her. They were like, well, for the weekend, she has to stay with your sister. She can't come with you to Connecticut because that's out of jurisdiction. I'm like, why? I have custody. And they're like, yeah, but while the court's going on, it's a New York case or whatever. She stayed with my sister for a weekend, and then they tried to extend it for a couple of weeks. I brought her up. I just said, listen, if they call you and say they're coming, just let me know. Just don't open the door for nobody. And then I wound up, it wound up getting squashed out, but she's always been like that too. She every once in a while, she'll bring me to court, to get custody. Because my daughter has special needs, so she's living in the Bronx. She's living hard. She wants to get that check, the SSI. I don't qualify for it because I make too much money for that, so I don't care about it. But that's what she cares about. But she's just been totally unplugged from her life, as far as love and being a mother and stuff like that. She's been completely unplugged from her life, and it's just better that way anyway because she was too in and out. She'll come. She'll see her once in a while and then just disappear for a year. Then all of a sudden she's calling me, oh, you don't let me see my daughter. You're an animal. You're keeping me from her. I'm like, listen, if you want to see your daughter, just ask me. Stop crying on the phone. Stop giving me a hard time. And I just completely cut her off because she kept doing it.
Right. She's playing the victim.
Yeah.
So once let's get back to the gang thing. How long were you? Or
I was Crip for 12 years.
No. I mean the motorcycle.
Motorcycle, I was altogether probably I want to say 12 years, something like that.
And what'd you say it was? The Click?
Yeah, the Click was the auto club, and then I was in TR after that. I don't like to say their full name out because they just had a case on the news and all that. But I don't like to say their full name out because I'm establishing myself as a brand. Yeah. And I want anybody to say that I'm using them to get popular because I didn't need them to do any of that stuff,
Yeah. So you were with them for a few years?
6 years.
And then, but why did you drop out of that or
so I had
step back?
I had went nomad. I had a mentor, and this guy was like teaching me so much about life. I was telling him like, your knowledge is not biker knowledge, it's life knowledge. He was like very like that Native American spiritual vibe type stuff, but in a manly way. And he would just talk about things about life. And he would give speeches. I used to have it all online, but I took it off. Those things got hundreds of thousands of views. All of us vested up, and he's like talking about stuff, talking about brotherhood, like the way it should be. Well, things got corrupt, and they wound up pushing him out the door. People got jealous because he got too powerful. And when you get powerful like that, and you have your own breakaway, like a nomad, where you could have as many people as you want down with it, and you're not in the same state, you can get big and get powerful. And I'm doing YouTube, and people are like, yo, how do I get down with your club and stuff like that? So he's like, we're growing fast, So he just got too powerful, and I say it was like the 48 laws of power, never outshine the master.
Right.
That was the perfect situation where he outshined the master too much. They got jealous of him. He got too larger than life. And what he would do is when he would speak, his words were so powerful that, like, I told him, man, I remember one day he was giving a speech and everybody was like, wow, that's so deep. And I saw the president looking at him, the bigger president, and he was like, just had like a little envy. Like, I don't have that kind of, like, people don't gravitate around me like that, And I saw it and I was like, bro, you gotta be careful. Your words are powerful, And he's like, yeah, but everything I'm talking about is like positive. I was like, it doesn't matter, bro. I seen bro looking at you like jealous, You gotta be careful, bro. And I told him never outshine the master,
No, that's a perfect, the 48 laws of power. That's a perfect example.
Perfect example.
What's funny is that was, by the way, that's something I've mentioned to Colby. I never did it. Where I actually thought about going through each law and doing like a video of the 48 laws of power, explain it and then give different examples of how it's happened in my life, or this is why this resonates with me, and doing. You end up with like you might end up with an hour or 2 hour video.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, that might be even better.
I actually did that. I did the 48 laws of MC Power.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wasn't the creator that I am now, so
Right.
I didn't do it as good. I was kind of reading it, and then I didn't connect it like I should have. People asked me to revisit. I was doing it Law 1 as an episode, Law
Right.
2 as an episode, but it is a great idea.
But then you could add them all together.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry to interrupt the video. Just want to let you guys know that we're going to have an extra 15 or 20 minutes of content on my Patreon. It's $10 a month for about an hour's worth of extra content every single week. Back to the podcast.
It's funny because, like, growing up when I was in my teens and 20s, you would hear people say like, oh, they're jealous or they're this. And I never really saw that. I never really saw that type of thing until I got older and opened a brokerage business and started hiring people. And then like as a kid, I didn't really see those things. But as you get older and get into business or you especially see it in prison with grown men. But you see that jealousy and you're like, he doesn't like him. Like, why don't you like? And they can't actually tell you. Sometimes they'll even just make up reasons to not like the person. And you're like, and then you start to realize, people are like, oh, he's just jealous, bro. You start to realize like you're justifying your jealousy by making up things about this guy who's just a decent guy. And it's fun. It's funny because you're a grown fucking man.
Yeah, I was
jealous.
just about to say that. Anytime I look back on my life and I had somebody that I endeared as a best friend that always would tell people bad stuff about me, and I never understood why certain people didn't like me, and I realized it was because he was always saying bad stuff about me, and I just didn't catch it. And then as I got older, I started having some real friends that are like, yo, what's up with him? He was just telling me this and I'm like, what? I'm like, we're so close. Why would he say that? Like, and it's just like, I don't know what it is. Certain people get obsessed with you, especially if you have that friend that is like, he almost acts like he's your girlfriend or something. Like he gets jealous of your relationship with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like a fucking gay thing. It's just weird. People get possessive.
Yeah.
But the 48 laws of power are great. That's a great, those are, some of them aren't, they don't sound great. Some of them sound kind of sinister, but there's a truth in them overall. That
power is not about being a good guy. It's about winning,
Right.
Yeah.
So once you got out, you started your YouTube channel, and it's got like 50,000 views, right? Or subscribers, right?
At that time?
No, I don't know. What does it have now?
651,000.
What did we look at that had 50? We were looking at something that had 50. Who did we look up?
Was it Gomez, maybe?
Oh yeah, you're right. It was Gomez. That's right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You've got like 600,000. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 channels. My Sose The Ghost channel is at like 80 something thousand. I hardly drop on it, but it's more of my stuff, riding around, doing stuff like that.
Oh, that's what we were looking at.
Yeah.
Sose The Ghost.
Sose The Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How much is that?
My
What's that
channel,
got?
that's 80 something thousand.
Maybe that was it. Okay.
Yeah. My main channel is Demons Row though. I remember
That's
you were telling me about like branding my name as opposed to branding a company, but Demons Row has about like 651,000, I think, right now or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I told you that we looked at the wrong. I know I'd seen it because that was the one we were
You
talking
saw it
about.
though because you told me about the cover.
The thumbnails.
Yeah,
I was talking about the thumbnails were super good. Like they're really like they're definitely not YouTube thumbnails. They're definitely biker driven.
Oh, it's actually 661K.
61, and the thumbnails are great.
Yeah.
You know,
I've always had that
who's
like.
doing the? Are you doing the thumbnails?
Yeah, I do the thumbnails, but now I got a guy that is like helping me now. Yeah, he's good.
You can tell like about two.
I'll plug you in if you
months
like
ago.
that stuff, but my stuff is like more comic booky.
Yeah,
than-
but it's a darker, grittier. It's
Yeah.
really not like gritty, but it's a harsher look. And ours are very funny. You know, ours are or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like they're
yeah.
they're the YouTube big. I always call them the big heads because I had watched a video where the guy called them big heads. He's like, you gotta do big heads.
I call it the YouTube face or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't typically make the faces. I did in the
Yeah.
older ones. Now we do kind of it's a you'll be facing and I'm facing. Then we do kind of something in between, and we
So like a Lex Freeman type deal or Joe? Not Lex Freeman, but like Joe Rogan.
more.
kinda?
Yeah, I hate to say
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, but
Yeah,
yeah, Joe Rogan. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like the
But
thumbnail
I-
you're talking
yeah.
about?
Yeah.
like almost like a clip style.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
photo, and then something in the middle that's
But we
related to
typically do
topic.
both. We do both people, but I put myself in because initially when I started the channel, it was just inside true crime.
Yeah.
But Colby had looked at the analytics and he's like, nobody's looking up inside true crime. They're all looking up Matthew Cox, Cox,
yeah.
con man. It was all a combination of me or the bulk of it, and it was like so. So I was like, well, and then Danny had told me. Danny's the guy, Concrete. So Danny had told me, he's like, you need, because he had looked at some of the thumbnails and he was like, look, every thumbnail needs to have, you need to brand you. You need to brand you.
Yeah.
And so then.
Do you feel weird about having your name out there though? Because like the way the hackers could like, if they have your name, then if they hack something, they know half the battle to like hack an account or something like that.
Yeah, but I'm so out there.
Oh,
at this
yeah, so
point.
you just embraced it, yeah.
I've got so many articles about me. There's so many, there's TV programs. It's like I was talking about, you go to prison, or when I was in prison, there were all these guys that were, they were con men.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to figure out how to bury their name, bury it, change their name legally. I'm legally going to change my name and I'm going to do this, or I'm going to hire reputation.com and they're going to bury all the articles. And it's like, first of all, you sound like you're working on another case. Like, and so I was like the only guy who was like, no, I'm going to lean into it. Like, I'm going to say, I'm going to tell people I'm a con man.
You know what's crazy? I don't know if you know Kathy Hochul. She's the governor of New York.
Sounds familiar.
I think that I'm actually not a felon right now. I think New York is so corrupt with the Democrats that they made it. Well, I don't call it corrupt. I got love for Kathy Hochul, but because I'm not like a Democrat type guy, I like Trump, but like. She saved my life because if it's true, she said anything after 8 years automatically gets expunged. So I was trying to look up for
Wouldn't that
years.
be nice?
And it's crazy. No, she did it in New York.
I know. I'm saying for me.
Oh
that would
yeah,
be
yeah.
nice.
Florida, you got the Santas
no,
here. So.
no, not Florida. I got the federal government.
Oh, you got Fed. Yeah,
they're
that'll never
letting you
go. Yeah, yeah.
The president would have to say you're not a felon anymore.
Wow.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's true yet. I'm gonna try to purchase a gun, and then if you'll hear about it.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, they said everything's expunged.
Yeah, but I would reach out for, because here's what'll happen is I knew a guy. I was locked up. I've been locked up with a couple guys. This happened. They filled it out. They gave him the gun. 2 weeks later, the ATF shows up and arrests him.
Oh, yeah, they would love to get me on too.
Right, and even keep it on when you're filling it out. The paperwork says you're not a felon.
They got expunged, and
But
then
you could reach out to. You can reach up to the public defender's office and just talk to a public defender, and they'll look it up. They'll go, "Oh, I'll look it up right now," or they'll know what's going on. They'll go, "No, she did say that, and you're right. Here's specific crimes. I'll fax you over this. Fill out this paperwork, send it in, and if it's acceptable, it'll go in front of a judge, and he'll sign off on it." Like, it's not gonna necessarily. I mean, it may.
Maybe it's just for jobs. Like, it won't show anymore, but you can't get a gun or something. You know?
Yeah, that's some real bullshit too, because. Listen, the gun thing, like, first of all, I'm a white-collar criminal.
Yeah.
I've never done anything violent in my life, right? So the idea that I can't have a weapon
to protect yourself makes no sense.
I don't want to drive around. I don't want to have a concealed weapon. So if you want to limit me, okay. But if someone's kicking in my front door, what am I going to do? Use bad language? Like, I would like to have a weapon.
Do you know that in New York, if someone kicks in your door and you shoot them, you're going to jail? You're not, it's no self-defense in New York. You're going to go to jail. They're going to say you could have did something else. You should have ran out the house or something.
Oh, no, not, in Florida.
Yeah, in Florida, no, you leave them
They're telling you, they're asking you to execute him. Shoot him, make sure he's dead so we don't have to go through too much paperwork.
Wow.
I mean, they don't care.
That's crazy.
What was it? I love the one Grady Judd one where he was asked by one of the reporters. They were like, there was a guy who'd barricaded himself in a house and was shooting at the police from inside. It was a trailer, from inside like a trailer.
Yeah.
And they said, "Why did your deputies unload, or fire 180 rounds into the house?" And he said, "Because they ran out of bullets." And he said, listen, evil can't be dead enough. He said they were he was barricaded. He shot at our deputies. He said he chose that. He chose to get into a fight out. He said now he knows.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're harsh. Yeah. But they're also the guys that I want showing up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Something's going on.
Yeah.
You like Grady Judd?
I like the videos I see, whether they're all 100% accurate. I don't necessarily believe everything that anybody says.
I heard he's done a lot of good. I know I get heat when I said what I said about the pagans. I got a lot of heat, but I'm not a type of person that does stuff, because I know my crowd is like pretty much a pro-Trump crowd. A lot of bikers, believe it or not, are very conservative.
Yeah.
But they don't like to talk about politics, but they're not left at all,
Right.
So a lot of people defended Grady Judd. It was weird to me, but, it is what it is. I'm not one of those people that says things for people to like it or whatever. I just say my opinion. That's always been my problem.
I think that there's always, it's never clear cut. And keep in mind, he's doing what do they call him? What is it? He's doing a little clip, right? Like, he's trying to sum it up in a little clip, so it gets views and it gets, he loves the camera. Yeah. So he's simplifying and he's trying to, but let's face it, most of the time they come out, they say all this stuff, and then when they get into it, next thing you know, it's like, we got to drop this guy from the case, this guy from this case. It's like, wait a minute, the article said there was 110 guys or there was 70 guys, and they were all RICO, and and cut this guy loose, cut this guy loose. Next thing you know, it's down to 6 guys who, and maybe it has nothing to do with whatever they were saying. It's, there's
he
sound
gets
bites.
More press than any sheriff I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Look, I don't know.
He's like 30 minutes down the road.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's Polk County, which is the next county over.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. People were like, "Don't ever come to Polk County." I'm like, "Why would I go to Polk County anyway?"
Well, I mean, the whole thing is, what's so funny? I got a ticket. I've gotten one ticket since I got out of prison, and actually, this was I want to say it was highway patrol. But I mean, this guy was the nicest guy. He came running up, to the side door, not on this side. He ran up and I rolled down. I said, "Hey," I said, "Do you need my registration?" He said, no, I already pulled it up. I said, "Do you need my license?" He goes, "Nope, already pulled it up, already looked you up, you're good." He said, "Just want to let you know." He said, "I should be giving you a ticket for this. That's a $412 ticket. You were going X amount of over the speed limit." He said, "Not going to do that." He said, "I'm going to give you one for improper, whatever, not following a sign or something." He's like, "That's only a $200 and $10 ticket." He said, "I know it's expensive." He said, "If you let me write that up," he said, "I'll write that up instead of the other one. What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, write that one up." He said, "Okay, I'll be right back." Ran up, came back. He said, "Here, just sign here, and sign here." Boom, pulled it off. He said, "That's it. You can go to traffic school." I mean, it was the fastest ticket I'd ever got. I didn't show him anything. I'm used to being before going to prison. Yeah. Things weren't automated. I got to show you my registration. I got to show you I got proof of insurance. I got to show you my driver's license. He's like, no, I already got that. All right, pull this. You're fine. Just sign here. Okay, cool. Yeah. And left. I went to traffic school and got it taken off. But every interaction, I'm overly polite to everybody. Mm-hmm. So if I get pulled over, if I have any interaction with anybody, I'm always just, extremely polite. I think that when you become, you get belligerent, they pull up and you're belligerent. Next thing you know, they're dragging you out of the car. It's like, how much am I going to let you be rude and disrespectful to me when I'm an officer of the law? And, you see some of these videos where
in New York, they spit at them. They do crazy stuff.
Yeah, that'd be a mistake.
Yeah,
here.
they bully the cops in New York now.
But then the cops here, honestly, sometimes they'll be just complete power hungry pricks. You're just going to have an asshole. Anytime you give somebody power, there's so many times when you see those videos, you're like, that dude shouldn't be a cop.
I agree. Like the flight attendants during the pandemic, they were straight up Nazis.
Right.
I remember I was like going to California and they were telling us to, oh man, thinking about that time just annoys me. You had to wear the mask and then they give you the snacks and they tell you take a bite and then put the mask back on. I told the lady, I was like, can you go away? I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna eat like everybody else and then I'll put it back on. And she told the pilot on me and stuff. And I was like, listen, bro, I paid. I was like, bro, you're not authority to me. I paid to get on this flight. Like, you're not like my boss or something like that. Like, you don't pay my bills. And he was like, you could get in a lot of trouble for this. I was like, no, no. I didn't do anything wrong. Actually, you're doing something wrong. And we had like a little argument. And when I was getting off the plane, they tried to like reprimand me. Like, pay all this money. You paid $700 for tickets or whatever it is that they charge. And then they're going to give you a hard time. Like, it's that time period was like the Twilight Zone. I hated that time. But you know what's funny? I caught a lot of heat for saying that on my show one time I was talking about LEMCs, like police officer motorcycle clubs. That They call them law enforcement motorcycle clubs, LEMCs. And I was saying that people got mad at me. I said, anytime I ever got in trouble with the law, it's because I did something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, I don't like when people do this victim thing, like, oh, the police are out to get you. Listen, there might be some cops that are dirty. I've seen it, but anytime I got in trouble, I did something. And people don't have that accountability. They want to be like, oh, the police are corrupt. That's why I didn't do nothing. Like, come on, bro.
Oh, listen, I love the videos where the body cam videos where you've got some chick who doesn't want to give you her driver's license, and you don't have any right. Who do you think you are? And they're yelling. It's like, you're turning a traffic stop into you being arrested right now. Yeah. And the cop explains, and she's mouse off, and he explains again, mouse off, explain. And I'm thinking, before those body cams, when I was growing up, they'd already yanked you out of the car. You're lucky he's got a body cam. And then I get to a point where I'm like, yank her out of the fucking car. Yeah. Like, I'm yelling. I'm looking at the video going, oh, hell no. You've got more than enough reason to say, all right, that's it. You're going to jail, And then they grab him. They start screaming. And they say, you can't touch me.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you insane? Like,
it's crazy.
You're about to be dragged across the pavement, shoved in the back of the car. What did you do? You had to give me your driver's license. That was it. And you've got a driver's license. Yeah. Like, what are you, insane?
You know what's crazy? I noticed when you live where there's more money, there's less respect for cops. It's more like they work for us. But when you're in the hood,
what I'm saying, where I grew up,
they're the dominant force, I mean,
I was just always super polite. Like, I'm just super polite to everybody.
I'm like that too, yeah.
And I have I have so few problems with people as a result of that. Yeah. So, these guys who want to tell the cops how to do their job, and you can't this and you can't that, and who are you? It's like, bro, he just wants to give you a fucking ticket. You ran a red light. Yeah. It's pretty clear you ran the light. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you doing?
That's why I don't try to talk out of tickets. None. I'm just like, here, I'll just pay it and whatever. I don't got time for it.
Yeah, I'll go to traffic school. I can go to traffic school once a year. I'm good.
Yeah.
So what else? So are the YouTube channel, like, that's your sole? That's it?
Yeah.
That's what you do?
Yeah. The website.
How many? The website? What do you mean?
I have demonsroad.com, and I sell like motorcycle merch and stuff like that. And then the YouTube. Yeah, that's what I do full time.
Who does the designs for are they t-shirts and stuff?
Yeah, t-shirts. But I have this mask that I don't know, it was like a blessing from God. Like, I had this mask because everybody, I don't know why, but I always got to be the one that does something different from everybody else. I have this thing where I don't want to be the same as everybody else. So everybody was like wearing a bandana over their face or whatever, and I got this like zombie skull type mask, and I just rode with it for years, and everybody always said, "Where'd you get that from? I want one like that," and it just didn't exist anymore. It was the craziest thing. So I found it out how to get it reproduced, and then now I reproduce it and I sell it. Sells like hotcakes.
Do you do the reproductions yourself, or you have a company?
Yeah. Yeah.
You do? Oh, is it a
No, not like physically myself. Yeah, I paid to get it done. Yeah.
I was gonna say like a screen print or something, because I do screen prints and stuff.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I'd love to design like my own T-shirts. And
So you have the machine to print it?
yeah, okay. So there is a machine you can get, but you can just order the screen and just lay it over there.
That's
and
smart. I should
squeegee
do
the
that.
ink. I need the machine. Like, and at some point, I would love to come up with a design that I like well enough, and then I'll just screen print, whatever, 50 every single weekend or something, and then you have them stacked up. And I'd love to be able to do it, especially doing it myself, right? Like, I'd love to do it myself, because then I could, when I talk, if I'm trying to sell them, I can say, hey, I screen printed all of these myself.
Yeah.
And people will like that. Be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Instead, you have to go to a company. And then the other thing is I need a decent shirt material,
Yes.
because some of them suck.
I know.
So you don't want to sell merchandise that you wouldn't wear yourself.
Yeah. I had that happen. I was using Teespring for a while, and people
That's what
were
we're using right
supporting
now.
it, and I was mortified at the pictures I was getting. They would have the ghosting on it, and it'd be like slightly to one side. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
What are they doing to my brand? Like, it was crazy.
But Teespring is connected with YouTube. It shows, so it looks good. But and then they're like, oh, it's 100% cotton shirt. It is 100% cotton shirts. 100% cotton shirts suck.
Yeah.
Like nobody's wearing 100% cotton. They don't fit well. Like you need a little bit of spandex or whatever it is, rayon or whatever in there.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Colby doesn't know.
When you work out, then you want it to sit, a certain way.
You want it to, it's got to hug you a certain way. Are you interviewing people yet on the channel? Or?
Yeah, I just finished one of my biggest interviews. I interviewed George Christie, the former Hell's Angel. My biggest interview is Junior from the Mongols, Scott Junior Erickson. He wrote like 2 books, and he's like infamous because he like killed the Hell's Angel years ago. And he's like one of the pillars that made the Mongols a dominant club that grew, because he took a stand. They took a stand against the Hells Angels in California. So that's how they expanded, because if not, they would have not existed, or they would have got wiped out like a lot of clubs did, back in those days, So
Because they were like what? They were just going in and incorporating them into the Hells Angels, or they were saying...
Yeah, they would make them flip over, or they would shut them down, or make them a support club, I had an interview with Jason Momoa. It was over Zoom, which I hate. I think you agree with me on Zoom.
Oh yeah, I can't stand it. But
they suck.
But it's like if the guy's he can't come. I'm doing guys that they have an ankle monitor.
Yeah,
on.
I know.
He's like, I'm not coming.
I know.
And it's like, and they're willing to do it. And the nice thing about Zoom is that, this is a production. Like Colby has to be here. We have to set everything up. Like it's a whole thing. Like even if you and I talk for 2 hours, it's a 4-hour deal. He shows up early. We set up everything. He goes through everything. But the nice thing about Zoom is you put it down, you click the button, and you talk for an hour and a half, and you click the button, and it's done. It's over. Nobody has to show up. I get ready 5 minutes, 3 minutes beforehand. That's it.
The only thing is that the Zoom,
but you don't get the views. You just don't get the.
That's
and you
what
don't have this can be 2 hours easily, or 3 hours, as opposed to a Zoom's. It's a struggle to get it to go to 2 hours.
Because you're kind of listening, and then you're like, you don't want to interrupt, so then you answer, and then you're like, what? What'd you say? And then I don't like Zoom.
Yeah, it's less of a conversation, I would say.
Yeah.
More someone just
And plus,
one-sided.
it's a vibe too. We're like vibing, we're actually looking at each other talking. So it's just way easier to have a conversation,
And people don't want to watch them for some reason. And I've got lots of people in the comments, because I read the comments constantly.
Yeah.
And they'll say, yo, bro, like I want to support your channel. I love your stuff. But every time I see a Zoom, I just can't, or a remote podcast, I just can't. They're like, I just can't do it.
Yeah. The only time I could like mess with a Zoom is like if the quality is there and the audio and everything is like, like some of the big YouTubers do it sometimes, but it gotta be like, like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even think Trump does that much. Like, even when he interviews, he actually goes and sits down most of the time.
Yeah,
But I mean,
you need a big guest. Like we've never had an in-person video that we have not posted, but we have had Zoom interviews that we just haven't posted because the quality on the other side is just so bad.
Yeah.
Where it's just like it's not even worth it. We actually had someone who was a diamond thief, a jewel thief. His internet connection was so bad, it just like it wasn't. We posted it.
Eventually.
And it got like 10,000 maybe. But if he would have been here, it could have been easily been 50, 100,000.
Yeah.
Just because.
Just one story after another, but it was just shit. And I was gonna say the other thing is, well, one, the connection, but two, like, you know, these guys don't have the setup. So the audio's bad half the time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they'll have a light behind them, or you can see their dirty clothes on their bed behind them, or you can see, you know, it's just somebody's walking on in the background, or
it's like that initial perception. If somebody sees it, they're just like, like, what is this? You know, just another pop. Anybody can do a Zoom. So it's just, you know.
Hey, real quick, just wanted to let you guys know that we're looking for guests for the podcast. If you think you'd be a good guest, or you know somebody, do me a favor. You can fill out the form. The link is in our description box, or you can just email me directly. Email is in the description box. So back to the video.
When I interviewed Jason Momoa, he was in the woods. He's just like out there, like holding his phone. And I'm like, if I would have had to sit down, my channel would have blew up, you know, like, yeah.
But that's also him. I think people expect him.
Yeah,
He's
they
kind of
do.
a free spirit.
He was in I think he was in England at the time. He was shooting Fast and the Furious. He promised me that when he goes to California, which he's in California right now, that I could go see his warehouse and like get footage of the motorcycles and stuff, and we could do like a real one. But he's so busy, like it's hard, you know.
So how'd that interview come about?
All right, so I interviewed his national president, Cliff from Red Rum MC. They have an indigenous club and it's all over. And Jason Momoa is a member of this club.
What's an indigenous club? What do you mean?
Indigenous, like Native Americans, all that stuff, like the tribes and all that.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that club, Jason was in Italy shooting something, and he had a video with the Hells Angels. So he had like a support shirt on. So I did a video. I was like, you know, talking about Jason Momoa being around the Hells Angels and stuff like that. And his club gave him a lot of backlash because it's like if you're in a club, you can't wear support gear of another club. So he was wearing support gear of the Hells Angels. It's kind of saying like, kind of makes your club look like an under club.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he got on the show to clear the air. Like, listen, I just got love for everybody. I didn't know, you know, because he was new to the club and stuff like that. And we just talked about that and like just different things of his life and stuff like that. Yeah, but he's a cool dude, very eccentric, you know. Mm-hmm. He's like the person that you see in the media. That's how he really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really like that.
Anything else?
Yeah, no, I got some questions. I guess I got a few questions. More so as it pertains to like the biker gangs and things like that. Like, I mean, a lot really. I guess first, like, how do you even like get into one? Like, is there like restrictions for certain people like wouldn't be able to get in, or
are you saying for the 1%?
For the let's talk about for the 1%.
For the 1%.
Right, yeah.
So like everybody thinks it's like some nefarious thing that you got to do for an outlaw club. First of all, you got to hang around. They got to get to know who you are. You know what I mean? And you got to be referred by somebody. It's kind of iffy now because so many clubs, if you got like $600 and, you know, you could give them, buy your patches and like pay to get in, a lot of clubs just want to expand. So it's easier. It's not like how as rigorous as it used to be. But I mean, some of the bigger clubs, it's hard to get in. You know, like you got to hang around for a year. And then somebody from the club has to say, yeah, he's, you know, or if you have a family member in there, it's easier because they can really vouch for you. But you got to prospect, you know, and prospecting sucks. You got to like be on call and they're calling you constantly. Look, you got to go over here. You got to do this. And you always got to be on your bike no matter the weather, you know. And in the East Coast, the weather's rough, you know. So riding a bike when it's 30 degrees, it's rough, you know.
When you say do this or do that, what does that mean?
Cleaning up, you know. And a lot of times when you're a prospect too, if you're going somewhere, you have to show them that, you know, you're built like that, you know? So if you're a prospect and you're going to an event and something happens, you know, another club you have problems with, they're watching to see how you react and stuff like that, you know? So it's not that you have to do something to get in, but when you do, it's like, all right, he's built for this, you know? So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of bartending, cleaning up, you know, because you'll have your clubhouse and like, you know, they'll sell drinks or whatever. And, you know, you would clean up, some have to bartend, stuff like that. And just a lot of cleaning, watching bikes and stuff. If you go somewhere, they got to be the ones watching the bikes, stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like it makes me think of Zach when he talks about putting in work in the pen, which he never did. He's like I got so lucky. My buddy, have you ever seen who Zach is? He's a friend of mine. He's a black guy that we were in prison together, and but as I went down in custody, he went up, and he's a white collar guy, like he's harmless. You know what I'm saying? But he was in the pen, and they were like, "Yeah, you got to put in work," and he's like, well, "What do I have to do?" And it's him and a couple of guys had to go like beat someone up. He's like, but luckily, I'm pretty sure I remember this right. Like the other guys, punched the guy and then punched him. And he's like, I was ready to, but the guy went down or whatever happened he's like, but I didn't do anything. He's like, but when it was over, he's like, it was like, I was there. Like I had participated in this beatdown. Which I never did anything. Yeah. He's like, but then I had like this reputation of at least he was there, he helped us, and he said, but I didn't do nothing. He's like, I never really had to do anything, but it appeared that I did, or even your willingness to.
I know a 1% Club member that did that several times. There was a time where we had an altercation with a rival club, and I felt the people that were with me were not saying anything, and this club was kind of like bullying a little bit. So I'm a prospect at this time, so I step up and I was like, listen, whatever was going on before I got here, it's over now. We could just handle it right now. You know what I mean? Like it's a different day right now. And they seen the look in my eyes like this, we're not playing these games no more. So when that happened, this guy stands next to me and he gets the same kind of praise I get at the table.
Right.
Yo, you really did your thing, Sose. But then they giving him props too. All he did was like, once I handled everything, said all the craziness that would get us into a situation, and they didn't do anything about it, he stands next to me and they're like, oh, great job. And then there was another prospect that was like,
you going, yeah, what he said.
Yeah. And he didn't even say nothing. He just stood next to me and looked serious. Why is he getting the same props? But then he did the same thing with another member. There was an altercation. This prospect was somebody that was a Latin King before, so he was active. Some of us came from gangs before, so we were like used to just not having those sit downs and stuff in clubs. It's a lot of sit downs, but if you come from the gang world, it's just like react right away. So it's helpful when you're new. You get a reputation fast. But he did that where one of the members swung on somebody. He was not even the one who swung on the person, and he took credit. Like, oh yeah, we beat him up or whatever. And he was getting all the credit. And other people that were there were like, nah, he's the one who did it, It's just like, I hate when people try to take credit for other people,
So is there actually like I don't know
a clubhouse? Clubhouse that's owned by the
clubhouse.
Yeah, clubhouse, yeah.
Is there a clubhouse?
Yeah, it depends on how small your chapter is, but the chapters I was in always had clubhouses, yeah.
Do they, is there like a membership fee? Like how do these things get paid for?
Yeah, you pay dues monthly. It's either $50 a month or $100 a month. Yeah, everybody pays dues, and then like at the end of the year, you pay like more dues to the national. So the mother chapter gets like, the mother chapter is the first chapter that started the club. It's where the power sources of the club, where they keep it. And in mother, you send them money at the end of the year too, so they use it for whatever they use it for. There's a lot of scamming that goes on with that money too, like presidents and treasurers working together to like keep money. It's a lot of corruption.
Well, so the clubhouse, is that someplace like what's just so funny is like of course most of the guys that I met were in prison, so they were doing something criminal. You know what I mean? So they don't have real jobs, but then some of them were like, they're like regular, like they've got construction companies, or they own a bowling alley, or they've got like real jobs.
Yeah, everybody had jobs. There was probably like one person I know, or maybe like two or three that hustle, but it was their own thing or whatever. But that's how they get you on the RICO. Because if this one person gets too big and then he gets caught out and he starts talking with other members on the phone, they're like, oh, hang the vest up, lock him up, his friends, and then they call it like, oh, we got this club for this, whatever. But the club wasn't making money off of it. That's what happens 99% of the time. Are there chapters somewhere that like they function together and like, yeah, let's get money. We're a brotherhood, let's get money. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, but it's not as widespread as people think.
Mike Hudson is a guy that what's his video got?
Oh, it's probably a couple 100,000.
Yeah. So, which is his story. Like it's really his story, and it's really his mother's. his mother and her two sons, which was Mike and Doug Hudson, and several other guys, and they were basically a crew that his mother ran in the 70s and 80s, who were importing and it turned into, which it always does, but prior to kind of going and shipping stuff in, he was a member of, or he never became a member. He was a prospect with the Dirty Dozen. And actually, I don't
in Arizona?
In Arizona. I don't even think it was a Dirty Dozen at that time.
Was it Hell's Angels?
No, it wasn't Hell's Angels. Actually, I think it was.
Sonny Barger?
Yeah.
He moved to Arizona, took the Dirty Dozen, and flipped them to Hell's Angels. So all the Dirty Dozens became Hell's Angels.
Okay, but when he was there, I think it was Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen, yeah.
But he didn't have a job. He was, and he always says I was the number one Harley Davidson thief from 1972 to whatever it was. Now listen, he's a fuck. I'm gonna send you the video, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
He's a character, but he has so many stories about stealing motorcycles.
Oh wow!
And he had his one of his bikes won won the Arizona such and such. If you see him, he's hilarious, but
yeah,
but frightening. So anyway, he has this one story. You should interview him, bro. The problem is this: he's a long distance trucker now, still on probation. He must drive his fucking PO nuts. But and getting him to a point where you can, it took us months to coordinate where I could get him, getting him in front of you. And then as far as figuring out the technology of doing a Zoom.
You would need to do him in person.
I wouldn't do a Zoom.
No.
I wouldn't.
Well, I promise you couldn't.
Yeah.
He'll never figure it out. He'll never do it. You said, hey, I got somebody, you have to be here at this time. That's not going to happen either.
Yeah.
But if you could get him, he'll go on for 3 hours, and it's nothing but one, and I mean great story, because he's got 40, he's been in prison. He went into Arizona State Prison. He's been in prison in Florida, I think, twice, Arizona once. He's been in the Fed twice. And this is insane.
Yeah.
My favorite story of his, though, as far as stealing bikes, he had a buddy, I think Lumpy. So Lumpy, they all know you're stealing bikes, right? And Lumpy's like, hey, I'd give him like $200, and people would they'd call me up and say, I got a bike for you. And Lumpy calls him up and says, man, there's a guy who's got a whatever Harley Davidson, and he keeps it in the back. And he's like, okay, he's got a dog. He's like, well, let me come take a look. So he drives by and takes a look, sees the bike. It's actually out there where he said, I see it. But he says he puts it in the back. So he's got a dog barks, whatever. So he said, I waited till the coldest day of the year when he took the dog, had to take the dog inside.
Wow.
He's like, he said, it's record lows. And he goes and he has to slowly walk the bike, slowly back it out, and eventually walks it all the way up a hill and down a hill.
What?
And then he starts it, and he said, then I actually drove it by the guy's house.
That's dedication right there.
So 2-3 weeks later, Lumpy calls him again. He goes, the guy's got another bike. He got his insurance money from the bike. He just bought a brand new bike. So Mike goes there. He drive by, and they drive by. He goes, let me see. He goes, they drive by, and he goes, let me out. He's like, what are you doing? You're going to do it now? He's like, I'm going to do it right now. He said, are you fucking serious? The bike is parked in the front yard. So he goes right up, or I think in the carport, whatever. He said, literally, I walk up. He said, the door to the carport is cracked. He goes, I can see the guy's feet on the ottoman. He's watching I Love Lucy or whatever, some show, or Andy Griffin or something. And he's like, I take the bike, I slowly put the kickstand up or whatever. He's like, I slowly back it out. I slowly walk it up.
Do you know how hard it is to do that? Not starting the bike up, just walking it like that?
Yeah, no, it's
to get out of somewhere.
But he's talking about, he does the whole thing. I had to back it up, and it was wedged here, and I had to do this and do this. He's like, and at one point, the guy actually sits down, walks over, changes the channel, turns around. He's like, and I'm just sitting there holy shit. If he turns around the wrong way, he might see me. He does it, turns around. So he's got this whole thing, walks the bike up the hill, gets there. He said, has a problem starting the bike. He's like, I'm like, but by the time he finally gets it started, he comes up the hill and goes right down. The guy runs out with a 45 or something, runs out, and and the guy's pointing the gun. Listen, I feel like the first time I heard the story, he fired the gun. But when he was here, Mike goes, I go, did he fire the gun? Because I remember thinking he had fired the gun. He said, no, he didn't fire the gun. So he's, and he said, I remember, he said, when he's driving by the house, Lumpy was still in his little Ford Pinto or whatever he was driving. He's in his car. And he said, or standing on the side of the road, he said, I remember Lumpy the whole time going, as he drives by, because he drove by like, and wow. But listen, Mike's got one story after another, and he was a prospect. He never did end up becoming, because he said something had happened where a whole slew of guys got arrested, not from his club, but from like another club, and the feds were. This is when they were really cracking down on all the clubs.
Yeah,
and he said, he said that the chapter president, whatever, had come in and called everybody together and was telling everybody, like, listen, you got to stop doing this. You got to stop that. You, with the motor, stop. Like, I'm not going to prison for 20 years like so-and-so did over here. He's like, because you guys are fucking around. And he started putting the kibosh on it. And Mike was just like, he said, yeah, I'm done. Like, I can't. This is what I'm doing. I'm getting $600 or $800 every motorcycle. This is how I'm making money. And I think that's, I could be wrong, but I think that, but he would be great. He would be great.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
What is he, 67 years old or something?
He's pretty old. He'd get him on a load up to the Northeast and tell him
my
to stop
fan
over.
base is a lot of like 18 to 24, and they love the old timers.
I was gonna say they love him though. You don't understand. Like,
they love the old timers.
Like,
they ask for it. They ask for old timers. Yeah,
he's got so many. And back then, what people don't realize is you don't get guys like this anymore. Because here's what happens: is as many times as he was busted, went to jail, got back out, busted, went to prison, got back out, went to. That doesn't happen now. Now you get busted, you do 10 years. You get busted again, you got 30 years.
Yeah.
You don't get to build up stories like this because you're just dead.
Were you doing YouTube when you were a part of the 1%?
Yeah.
Or like, how was that transition? Like, I guess when did you decide to leave and do your own thing, or like what was that kind of transition period like?
So I started just getting footage when we were at like events. Like, we were at this event called Motorcycle Mania, and then I would just show footage of like the event and stuff like that. It started like that. Then I started, the Mongols had a big Save the Patch case, and like Jesse the Body Ventura was a governor at the time, and he like got involved, and he turned out to be a Mongol too. Like, he was defending them. So it was an important thing, because if they would have lost that case, the government could always go after your vest and make it illegal when it's a copyright thing.
They were trying to do that.
Yeah.
Did they do that?
No,
it didn't work.
lost. Yeah, they lost.
Yeah, they were trying to make these things like illegal for you to have. And I remember thinking, you can't do that. That's freedom of speech. Like, you can't tell me what I can have on my on a T-shirt or wear or anything else. People cut up American flags and use them as clothes. Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, that's.
Yeah. And then I started doing like I remember like Chris Brown got sued by the Hells Angels for having like a jacket that was similar to theirs. So like, I got heat from the club. Oh, the Hells Angels, blah, blah, blah. So I talked to the Hells Angels president, spoke to me, and he said, listen, make your money. When you put the vest up, just blur out the S's and it's fine. Nobody cares, So like it was also like, I would go places and people would be like, oh, I love the show. And then like somebody else that's like higher up might be like, oh, well, why is he getting all the love? That's not protocol. They're supposed to come up to me first, So it became like a jealousy thing. But like I said, they ran my mentor out of Dodge, and I didn't like the way he did it. And then I decided to leave the Nomads and go back to my regular charter. And when that happened, there was like it was just a bad vibe with the New National. We didn't agree on certain things. So I just left, I was like, you know what? Keep it. I'm going to do my own thing, And I just, the YouTube was taking off, and I was like, I'm just going to focus on myself right now, and just, I was over it, Yeah.
I guess I have more questions about more so like the day-to-day life, or what do you guys do as a 1%, biker club, as opposed to like a normal club? Like, what does like a month look like, or a day look like, or like an event look like?
It's not as glorious as people make it seem. You have the parties where there's strippers there and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of riding, going to get something to eat, regular stuff that people do, but just with the bikes, and meetings, a lot of brothers just arguing over stuff that doesn't really add up to anything anyway. But the bigger clubs are talking about like bigger moves and, you know, problems with other clubs. A lot of it was like tensions with other clubs and we're talking about it and stuff. But they would do family stuff too. I remember when my daughter's birthday had came up, like we had a support club, a female support club, and they did the best birthday party forever. Those girls, I still love them to this day for doing that. Like I thought it was just gonna be a little get together. We cut a cake. We did it at the clubhouse. Like so many people showed up. They had like 1 million gifts. They gave her money. I mean, it was nice. They do stuff like that too. It's a lot of like meetings and going places, going to other clubs events, because this is the game. You go to other clubs events and then you throw a big event once a year or a couple times a year, and then they come to your event. So the more clubs events that you go to, those clubs are now obligated to come to your event. So then they make a ton of money. You know, that's the game, what it's really about.
Hey, I appreciate you guys watching. If you like the video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, please share the videos. That really helps. We have Patreon. Please consider joining the Patreon. We're going to put special content. We put an hour, sometimes 2 hours every single week. Also, we're going to put the link for Demons, or it's demonsrow.com, but we're also going to just put the link. You can go to the description box, click the link, demonsrow.com. There'll be a link. It'll bring you straight to it. So just do me a favor, click it, go there, follow, subscribe, do the things that you're supposed to do. Check out the videos. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. See ya.